Hey there, chat gang. Please excuse my sexy, raspy voice from this cold I've got going on, but this isn't exactly a trigger warning or anything like that. I just want to say that usually my cold opens have humor to them, or they're a little bit irreverent. This one's a little bit heavier, goes into mental health issues and so on and so forth. I left it in because it is relevant to some of the discussion that happens a little bit later on in the episode, and it is of course relevant to the reason why I've been inconsistent with my videos of late. I am sorry about that. Kind of getting back into the swing of things, but hey, while we're here, remember, the Rantathon is coming up July 30th and July 31st. It's raising money for mental health. It is a great cause, and we got over $8,000 worth of stuff to give away. So please, please tell your friends, get ready to tune into that. Even if you don't watch this whole show, just leave right now, tell everybody, it's all right. And remember, likes for the likes god, subscribes for the phone. Enjoy the episode. If you can think of it as like a pendulum, right?
Yeah,
like,
I found out later afterwards I started that thing that I was like way down that path without knowing it while I was doing army stuff. Like I was in doing motocross and taking like way risks like it was nobody's business. I was going to live forever and yeah, get on the couch and all that and come to find out all my problems.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean that's the thing is like you're sitting still, right? And when you're sitting still, it kind of like it catches you.
Yeah.
Right, like you've been running away from some stuff, or you've been like when it's sort of like the next challenge up, you kind of, and that was what happened to me is like it was just like I always had the next. You go into like a survival mode. I always had the next thing to fight. I always had the next battle. I always had the next whatever it was.
Right.
And then I got to a point where, like, okay, like I've got the 2 kids, got the house. We're like, we're not married, but we're like nuclear family-ish, it's been with the same partner for 12 years. We have our, both our kids together. Got the house, got the dogs, got the vehicle. Like I've done everything. I've checked all the boxes I'm supposed to. Like, and I'm just standing still. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with me? Like.
Yeah, you always feel like something's missing too. Like you need to. I don't know.
Yeah. And so like I finally go in and she diagnoses me with like the bipolar 2. And like I said, it's like a pendulum. Bipolar 2 swings further into the depression side, but doesn't swing as far into the mania side. And then bipolar 1 swings farther into the mania side, but not quite as far into the depression side is really how. And then where the pendulum swings and how fast is going to vary person to person and, even month to month or whatever. But so that's kind of the gist of it. That caught me off guard a little bit. I knew I was depressed, but I thought I was normal depressed. That's how I kept saying it.
Everybody's depressed somehow.
Right, yeah, we all have our stuff. And then the ADHD, which I'd become...
Extra seasoning.
Yeah, the severe ADHD, which I'd become aware of, but, like, it wasn't diagnosed yet. So, like, as soon as the diagnosis was official, I'm like, oh, this is real now. Like, it wasn't just me joking about I might have it, and now it's, like, a thing I have to confront. But the one that caught me off guard was the CPTSD. Because, like I said, like, okay, like, yeah, like, being abused as a kid, that all makes sense, and being abandoned, yeah, sure. The hypervigilance state, like, that like, as a veteran where, you go to bed and, like, your brain's like, well, what threat's still here, so you can't quite, like, that stuff. It's basically, therapist is like, yeah, it's like, it's not like CPTSD. It is. It's the same hypervigilance. It's the same, like my kids come to hug me at the wrong angle at the wrong time. Like the guard goes up, and it's like it's this thing that's just you don't really get rid of it. It's a disability. If you're a combat veteran, it's a disability. My buddy Jeremy, he has like 50% disability because of his level of PTSD. It's just something, and it's just one of those things that you have to confront, treat. You have to, because if you don't, it starts to creep into other parts of your life. And, I don't know your experience. I don't know anyone else's experience here, but, I try to get like the little tip of the iceberg that I'm familiar with from my personal standpoint and try to like sort of see into others, perspectives and stuff as deep as I can, or as deep as they'll allow. Yeah, what way to start a RantCast? First RantCast
right?
back in back in 2-3 weeks here. Yeah. I see the Mad Lad W Soren dropping off a tier 3 sub for 33 years, saying good evening from Texas. Good evening to Texas. How's it going, Soren? How's it going, my friend?
Damn.
Yeah. He's been painting like a fiend too. So I guess I technically owe him some paint time on stream. I said I owed him something of his choosing for some stuff that happened a few days ago, and fine. Sean's gonna help me set up my my airbrush. I'll like actually.
Are we doing it?
I'll finally.
You're on air.
Yeah.
We'll set it. We'll set
yeah,
up the airbrush.
you're
on
accountable.
live.
Yeah. Now I've said it live. I've said it in front of 2 witnesses plus all a chat gang. Now I got to do it. But yeah, I am of course the magical Mr. Mephisto. I'm the most dangerous man in Age of Sigmar. You are watching RantCast 129. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. I'm joined by 2 guests this evening. Sean from the Upside Down. How's it going, Sean?
I'm doing pretty good. Here in the Upside Down.
Right on. Speaking of, no spoilerinos. Season 4 Stranger Things. Just started it. Haven't gotten through it all. But
Yeah, I'm currently rewatching before I hit season 4.
That's kind of where I went into because it was such a downtime between. But real quick, also joined tonight by Nick, Slaves to Chaos Nick as well on Twitter. How's it going, my friend?
Swell, thanks.
Right on. And so Stranger Things. My son's 9, and he wanted to like watch it because he heard like the kids talk about everything at school. He's learning about crap I'm out of the loop on.
Yeah, the generational gap here is ridiculous. Stuff I would have no idea about in life at their age. My daughter's like, yeah, and I'm like, whoa, what?
Oh, he was telling me like stuff about actors and like roles. Like he knew that the Dragon Prince was canceled before I did, like, and that it's that it got renewed before, or that it might be renewed before I did. I'm like, what the hell are 9-year-olds like? How do you?
They're like attached to the phone and the internet now. They have a direct feed 24/7.
See, I have a podcast. Damn it, I'm not old.
Right?
Are you on Reddit enough? Reddit's where everything comes out, right?
No,
you just have to be at the right time on Reddit, and everything comes out there.
Fair. Yeah, no. So but he was talking like, so he's like, oh, like Stranger Things. Everyone's talking about the new Stranger Things season, and again, he knew before I knew it was confirmed. I'm just like, can I watch it, Dad? I'm like, well, let me see how bad it gets. 9 is still that age where you got to be like a little vigilant with what
filter.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, yeah, I think this is all right. There's some scenes where like there's some heavy petting or something in the beginning, but otherwise there's it's okay. So started watching it with him. Season 4 comes out, and I'm like, I'm sorry, son. Daddy's gonna betray you. I can't wait any longer. So I started watching it, and I have come upon a theory, and we'll see if have you seen it yet, Sean? Have you seen season 4 yet?
No, I haven't watched season 4 yet. The only thing I know about it is I know that song running up that hill has become popular again because of the show. And it wasn't until it became popular again that I realized that song wasn't originally made by Placebo. That's the only thing that I know. So if you've ever heard the song by Placebo, Running Up That Hill, it's a cover of a song from the 80s.
Fantastic.
And I just learned that.
Well, that's fantastic. There's a couple of those songs that like sneak through every now and then. Sorry, was that Nick?
Oh, no, I was just saying dropping knowledge right there.
Yeah, right on. Just let me.
I've seen up to 3. I've seen up to season 3. I haven't touched it season 4.
Yeah, so it's one of those few things. It's talking about like my derealization phase or derealization has been a real problem for me. The disconnect happened in Warhammer. I think Chat Gang has kind of witnessed it happen a little bit in real time, and but Stranger Things was one of those things where I'm like, no, this is for me. This is like this beacon in the dark. I'm so so unapologetically in love with that TV show. Like nothing has ruined it for me. It's like there's some stuff in it where you're like, yeah, okay, like I can nitpick this. Yeah, the kiss scene was, that's a yikes. But like when it gets right down to like the show itself, it's like, no, I love this. This is like a direct line into my nostalgia pleasure centers, and it makes me happy. But I have a theory, and I'm not no spoilers here, but I believe that every human has two wolves inside them. One of them is Steve Harrington, and one of them is Eddie Munson, and they are at odds with each other. So
okay,
I did that whole thing for that one joke. Everybody, you're welcome. Welcome to RantCast.
Yeah, nailed it. Nailed it.
Travis doing a tier 1 sub for 7 years, saying I'm on Smoko, so leave me alone. That's right. So yeah, I mentioned tonight we're gonna talk about just community. You know, I haven't had a rantcast in a while. Let's have a proper rantcast with an old friend and a new friend. There's no better rantcast way, in my opinion.
No better.
And try to. I've got some of your minis here to show Nick. Of course, people can follow Seanzor. I believe it is on Twitter, and see your fantastic hobby too along the way. So we'll talk some hobby a little bit later on. But I kind of want to reset this a little bit. We've kind of how I invited Nick on, and kind of an epiphany that you led me to, Sean. And
What's up, buddy?
I don't want to go back to and unearth any worms here with Adepticon. Every hot take that could possibly be said has been recycled through. We already had the we've run through all the greatest hits of every AOS debate that always recycles every year in the discourse. What is it? Double turns, good, bad, soft scores, yes, no. I think we're on chess clocks again now.
Chess clock
we're on chess clocks now. Like the hits keep playing. Yeah. It's whatever. Get your takes out there. It's fine. But the Adepticon thing, I don't want to talk about Adepticon itself. I don't want to talk about the drama so much as what you said to me, Sean. Well, rather than say what you said, how about you tell me what you said? Like with the sort of like when you were, you had a long history of going to Adepticon from America. You transplant to the Upside Down. Now an Australian citizen. Right? When do they give you your accent? Is that like year 5 or something?
Depends on who I'm talking to, mate.
Okay.
So I'm talking to somebody from Australia, it starts to come out a bit more. And then if I'm talking to Americans, I just sound American, so it's fine. That's
amazing. Oh man, I heard both of them at the same. So you get it's issued when you become an Australian. So they issue the accent. Okay. That makes sense.
The problem is it depends on how much Australian TV you watch as well. Because the problem is my missus has pretty much become more she sounds more American than she did when we got married. So she has hard R's when she says stuff and all that. And I actually try and put on more of an Australian accent when I talk to my kids, so that way they don't have as much of a American accent the way they talk. So if I was to say I'm gonna go get some water, what I would just say. But then if I go talk to my kids, I'll say, "Can you get your water?" Be like,
so you're basically bilingual at this point.
Yeah, pretty much. And there'll be times where I go to say something, and then I have to stop myself and say, "Shopping. Can you get the shopping trolley?" And then that way. My daughter will hear trolley instead of cart and know that the word is trolley and not get confused at me because I said cart. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
We don't think about these sort of dialectical, English dialectical differences too often as a language barrier per se. But so my family's pretty Irish. My grandparents came on one side, came over from actually grandparents on both sides, just a grandpa on my maternal side, and on my paternal side, both grandparents. And so half my aunts and uncles have Irish accents, and I've met my grandma Terry a handful of times, and there are moments where she is saying English words. I have no fucking clue what she just said. She's got that it almost reminds me of the pikey accent from Snatch. So it's really funny. Sorry. So speaking of kids, my kid's ganking me. What's up here? He's
something cool.
Achieved some art here.
Yin yangs on top of yin yangs.
Yeah. So there you go.
So I lasted, I think, 6 minutes before the first child interruption.
No, you're fine, man. No, this is RantCast. It's the RantCast
It's like
way.
everybody, let's call timeout. Hold on, real
Yeah.
quick.
Kids.
Everybody go do stuff.
Look, if Warhammer, quote unquote, AOS the dad game wouldn't be wouldn't be really true to form if we weren't dadding it up on an AOS podcast. Looks great, buddy.
But I think overall, with my take on Adepticon, one of the things that I think that was really important to me was I got so sad because there wasn't as much coverage as I would have hoped, because to me, like, especially being somewhere way, way far away from it, and I kind of feel it about all tournaments that are big that are happening, is like there's some massive FOMO that you start to get, especially when you know people that are going, or they've told you that they're going, or you know your mates are there. You might get like, and they're wrapped into it, right? So like you might get a few things here and there, but you're not getting like the fucking updates, bro. Like you're just like fiending to see that next picture, like know what's happening every round and all that stuff. And then like, and I think the point that I made to you is like, okay, so we're making it a thing that's growing bigger and bigger, and it's one of the largest tournaments in America, and there's like almost radio silence.
Well, I think it is the biggest wargaming like convention in North America.
Well, it's like the only one that's specifically tabletop wargaming and at that size, right?
Yeah.
Because like most of the other ones, they throw in like board gaming, tabletop RPGs, all this other stuff. Like Adepticon is about miniature wargaming. It's about tabletop miniature wargaming. There's other stuff that has kind of jumped on over time a little bit.
Yeah, there's a Star Wars was there, like the Star Wars is there, like Warhammer Hordes might be in and out sometimes, but yeah, it's Warhammer 40K is like the flagship. Obviously, it's fine.
Always.
They get to be the flagship, so we get to have more fun, is my opinion. Like, go ahead and go be the boring, for every, be the flagship, be the wave breaker, so that we get to like be on our like cool little schooner or whatever, like doing wheelies and stuff in the background. That's fine.
All the cool kids.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And then it gets even bigger. It becomes an invitational, and then like yes, there's that like thrown in invitational thing that maybe was not part of the original plan of the event coordinators, but like the radio silence part was almost jarring, because you're like, oh man, it felt like like there's it's like when you watch sports, there's a narrative that starts to come out based upon results, right? So it's like when people are winning more, when people, whatever's happening, there starts to be like a narrative that happens over time.
Well, as a writer, I've been paid cash money to write stuff. I can say writer by trade, and education. The narratives will form. I mean, that's just a narrative will form.
You want to watch it, right? Like you want to be able to see it like occur over time. So like the round results come out from round one, and you go like, oh shit, okay. So you kind of see where things are going. And then round two, you start to see who's winning and who's losing, and you get some aspects of that. And then 3 comes out, or, as the rounds come out, you're seeing like what's doing well, what's not doing well. And whether it's like a narrative event or whether it's the most competitive event, it's like you want to see that to have that narrative. And then obviously you want to see pictures of armies, because that's fucking cool.
Exactly.
Like, you get fired up because you see pictures of armies, you get fired up because you see the table, you see all the terrain, you see it all coming together. And it's like if you're sat at home and maybe you play 1 game a week, 1 game a month, maybe you only get like 1 game a year. You get 1 game day with your mates a year. Maybe you live somewhere rural, whatever.
Yeah.
And so it's like,
get away from those inflating urban real estate costs. You've moved out somewhere affordable. So
you've moved way out of nowhere. And the 3 people that live like within a 20-mile radius of you, none of them play Warhammer. So it's like you do your best to solo Warhammer at home, where you play 2 armies against each other. But
now I'm being attacked.
Things happen.
As I look over at my like little table there, where I trace bases onto paper, so that I have like, oh, this is an IDK army, and like I have the rough configurations on paper, and I play against myself and practice deployments. I think at the heart of it was community. It was an absence of community. And
because I want to feel connected to everybody that's there, especially the people that I know. But then the people that I don't know, I want to cheer on the people that are playing like the same army I play, like that sort of thing. Is like, and suddenly you like there's a mateship that gets built over Twitter and over Instagram or whatever with people just based upon like that interaction. Like if you go like, oh man, your army looks sick to somebody on Twitter, and then maybe like you kind of just start to interact over time. Like the next time that you see that person in that one tournament you go to a year or whatever, you're like, oh hey, I'm blah blah blah. Oh hey, I'm blah blah blah. And suddenly like there's like a friendship that started from just the fact that like a picture of an army got shown from an event 8 months ago. You've interacted a few times or regularly since then. Maybe you message each other about, I don't know, painting tips. How the fuck did you get that blue? Oh, I use these colors. Oh, sweet. Okay, and you have that interaction. There's like this camaraderie that gets built out of that.
Right.
And you just don't get it. Like if people go radio silent on you, there's not even the opportunity. Like you just kind of like, oh cool, Adepticon happened, or oh cool, any tournament.
Did it even happen?
Happened.
Right, like it was 200 people. Did it even happen? If no, I see. This was the take. I'll let Nick interject here and kind of add his perspective as well, because I was close to the people who ran it, and I know some of the invitational thing was brought up. Ganked by children. Nice. And I don't want to go into all that, but like I know for a fact, like they didn't want it to be an invitational, but like you don't have a say if Games Workshop's like you're the biggest tournament in North America right now. You're an invitational now, right? Like they're a $3.65 billion company. You're gonna take the ticket, right? Like, and what happens after that is whatever. Again, that's a different conversation. I lost both my guests simultaneously. My takes were about to be too spicy.
No, I'm still listening. My camera just turned off. I'll get it back shortly.
No, that's fantastic. No, so it was like the invitational thing was like like I said, they I know that they kind of got overruled. That's what invitationals are. That was one of the I was fighting these 6 different battles, trying to hold it's like the bridges I've built between all these different communities, in the Upside Down, in the UK, in Europe, West Coast, East Coast, all these different communities, all these different people I've had on my podcast over the years now, all these people who I do see the army of, and I'm like, oh, they're fucking, someone's rocking, Grand Alliance Death and doing awesome with it. That kind of stuff that gets you hyped. It keeps your personal passions and fire for Age of Sigmar stoked. And then you do manage to make it to an event. And you're like, oh, shit, you were the dude who was running GA Death. And, now you have a whole conversation. Now you have a friend. All that stuff, right? And so
and how cool does it look or whatever?
Yeah. It keeps going. It keeps building. Sorry, if you want to expand on that.
Oh no, you're good. I missed the whole conversation, so I'm just throwing myself back in there.
No, I'm gonna set you up. And you can spike it here. But yeah, so it was for like I said, so I was sitting here holding these ropes and trying to fight disinformation, and I'm trying to fight all these different conversations going on simultaneously. You have people in good faith, in bad faith. You have people shouting over each other, and I'm just I can't hold all these ropes on all these bridges anymore. And just kind of. But the thing I gravitated towards, the thing that kind of pierced through everything, whether it was the soft score debacle coming back again or anything, it was community. I've always been about community. It's always been my MO. The reason I like Age of Sigmar over other games is because I like the community. If I have a competitive streak, it's pretty pronounced. It can be pretty fearsome if you've played me in Blood Bowl, if you played me in Magic the Gathering, you probably don't like me. There's it's there. I even have the fact that my partner and I are both like kind of competitive, and we bring out the right type of competition in each other. Competition's part of my soul. It helped me find my my best friend in the world, right? Through our weird competition, when we were just friends and shit like that. It's important to me. But it's clearly not the most important thing to me, because if I just cared about just the competition, I go play a different game where the prestige is better, where the prize pools are better, where the money's better, where the caliber of opponent, whatever the heck competitive axiom I'm operating from, right? It's the community. It's the community that brings me back time and time again. It's the reason I started a podcast. And the great failing of Adepticon isn't any of the other stuff. There are any number of things to criticize. After my conversation with you, it was just like Eureka, the FOMO, the not being able to build those bonds, to not. I don't care that Adepticon runs its tournament with heavy soft scores. Hell, I will champion them still doing that. Like I will, I will go to ground for that. Like hell yeah, you know what? 100% soft scores determines the top. Whatever. People can see what lists go 5-0. Well, should be able to see what lists go 5-0. They can go, hey, this is a 5-0 list. You know that shit slaps, right? You're going to look at the matchups and do more in-depth analysis, but they should be able to look at that. And I don't care, run the event. That's also the double-edged sword of community, right? If we're going to embrace community, if I'm going to hold the community line, I have to respect this community's ability to run their tournament their way and their community, and that's where sort of to live by the sword, die by the sword. Talking to you, Sean, and actually you too, Nick, it kind of put it into focus for me, where it's like the failure here is this core principle I hold of community. It doesn't pass the smell test for me of being community. And I understand, TO's the man who will be full TO next year is a friend. He has his own podcast. He's voiced his own thoughts, and I won't talk for him. We have disagreements on some of the stuff too. But I'm still going to go to bat for my friend too, right? And I understand what he thought he was doing, which is he was caring about the people here. This is who I care, and other people have to take care of that other stuff. And he kind of, and whatever, people can think what they want about that. That's, again, I'm not going to talk for him. That's not what this is about. But all that stuff you said, Sean, were the FOMO, or how you went to Adepticon 20 years before I knew it existed, and it was your ritual. When I'm going to Gen Con, you were going to Adepticon, and I could see myself in what you were saying. When my friends went to Gen Con without me a couple times, and I'm just in the pre-social media phase, feeling just utterly left out without having to hear the noise of social media and all that stuff. I can't even imagine, I don't tweet for shit when I'm at a tournament. I know for a fact that my friends, if they're okay, it's okay, Mephisto will have the hookup. He'll show us what's going on at Adepticon. I'm nope, sorry, I'm tunnel visioning on the tournament. Can't help you. So it's I got it. It clicked. I think that the transparency aspect is huge, but transparency plays into the community. The community wants to be able. Yeah, the community does. As a dirty anarchist, we believe in mutual aid, building networks of mutual aid, having your own little community that's empowered in your way, but then also community outreach and a bunch of interconnected communities. That's part of the anarchistic, mentality. It betrayed my anarchistic sensibilities even. Where's the community outreach of that stuff? So that was where, for me, I had a little bit of a eureka, and I was able to kind of bring myself back. So I just interjected there. Nick, what were your, I guess, kind of on the community aspect and stuff like that, now that we've all fended off our children?
Yeah, right.
What was your, I guess, kind of, if you want to reset the kind of conversation we kind of had and maybe, relate it.
So I think a big part of it is going to be the community aspect, right?
Right.
You live vicariously through all these people, especially during the time when we're coming out of a pandemic and maybe you're not gaming that much. Your passion for almost everybody in this hobby is the hobby, right? That's how you get away from, the little gremlins out there and everybody else. Get your own time and do what you got to do. And you were just cast in the dark during that whole time for big parts of it. And then the snippets coming out, they weren't great a lot of times, and you were getting a lot of negativity thrown at your way, and something you're trying to, you're passionate about, you're fun about, you have very strong opinions about, and you're trying to, do that. And now we live in the day and age where you can spread all your thoughts, throw it out there on the internet with the click of a button, and then before you know it, it's a snowball, and it got out of hand. And I think that community aspect of it, since we've been so isolated for so long, Everybody was so insular with their thoughts and their perspective based on, maybe not really having a real tournament GT game, whatever, for the past 2-3 years. So I don't know. I think there was a lot of personal bias on the internet, and you couldn't. You tried to get that camaraderie, that community, that that vicarious
and when you're
endorphin, yeah,
and when you're left by when you're kind of left with your own thoughts, right? Like maybe you're like little close community, like the local community, a couple of your friends that you do talk to regularly, and your smaller Twitter circles that are like RL friends and stuff like. When you're left with your own thoughts in that smaller local community, the negativity bias is gonna win out every time. Whatever makes it through the fog, it's probably gonna be negative. It's that's gonna dominate because that's humanity is we're
nature right there.
Yeah, we like it's because evolutionarily speaking, like we tended to remind ourselves, okay, that thing's gonna kill me or hurt me. Better remember that, and we don't remember so much the. I mean, it's something we got to be aware of, work against, and also forgive ourselves, have a little self-compassion for too. Like it's okay to catch yourself falling into the negativity bias every now and then. But I mean, you go, okay, that's what this is, and then overcompensate down the line.
Well, and all it takes is you to like turn to your right and ask somebody next to you and be like, "Do you think that too?" And then they go, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah, of course,
like, oh yeah,
yeah." And then now it's
like, yeah, Adepticon is like the worst run tournament in the world. Yeah,
oh yeah, of course.
It is.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Yeah, fuck these guys.
Yeah,
and
now that
he's like, hold on a second. No.
And now that first that first blush read starts to become the dominant narrative. It gets reinforced initially by your first circle. You have your own biases, whatever they are, negativity biases in there somewhere. You get a read on an incomplete thing. You check with your first sort of that sort of first line of guard.
That first circle.
Yep. They go, reinforce it, and by the time you're to that second circle, you're probably like at that point in fight or flight. Because
you might be the voice, like the major voice in that next circle. So people go, well, what do you think about that?
Yeah.
This is what I think about that. And then suddenly you're the one that's pushing the next line of people because you were the one that everybody's like, oh, have you thought about this at all? Like, oh yeah, talk to this guy about it or that guy about it. And that's what they said too. Oh yeah. Right. And then you have like 30 other people who then go like, well, these 3 guys talked about it. So that must be it.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. That's gossip in a nutshell, right? High school.
I was about to say we're talking about Warhammer, but we're really talking about life.
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, no, so it's just and Twitter is where nuance goes to die. I love Twitter. You'll pry Twitter for my Elon Musk will have to pry Twitter for my cold dead hands. Like
he just wants to monetize it more.
I
from you, just monetize it from you.
I don't know if he can if he locks it all behind paywalls. Well, yeah, I guess I can't pay to play anymore. But
just don't go viral because viral tweets are the ones that are supposed to get the biggest paywalls. So
gross.
Yeah,
gross. I don't care. I'm not thinking about that. I can't think about that right now. I haven't had time. All I know is that it is the exact like dopamine box my ADHD brain needs. Like where it's just like I'm like, ooh, I can just doom scroll, oh, like that, retweet that, interact with that. Like it's just it is the exact like it is built for people with ADHD as far as I'm concerned. No, so
and you don't have to think too much. You don't have to write more than 240 characters or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
So you're like, I've written my 240. I've said my piece.
Yep.
I can move on.
Yep. You get to golden. You just get to parachute out there, like woo, like got my interaction for the day. Like it's so great. It's exactly, I can get overwhelmed by. I can't even really get overwhelmed by like any like too scatterbrained of topics either, which can be a problem because like my feed is so curated, to be like just tabletop gaming and like a little video gaming and then like some content creators I watch, and so it's like, it's funny because like all the
every once in a while there's those like twit longers, and then you're just like, oof, I don't know if I can read all this.
You better have my attention with like a funny GIF or something up front.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna lock it,
it's something I really want to know more about. Like if it's some sort of like controversy that is gonna lead to like another whole line of things going on.
Yeah, well, then you notice the little numbers in the corner there. That's like 3 of 47 or whatever it is, and you go, "Oh man."
Oh boy.
I like we're making fun of it, but I think I have a worse offense because at least you know what you're getting into when you see the number for the twit longer. I screenshot my like long form Facebook posts and then I post the images like an asshole.
Right, I can't open it up on my phone, so it works out. I'm just gonna pass.
Yeah. Well, I mean that's exactly it though. Like you could just it is such a like it is like it's the dopamine button.
Yeah.
You just bing bing bing. Oh no, scroll past that one. Bing bing. It's like I said. Well, apparently it could get monetized, but for now I'm holding the line. I love Twitter. It's as much as I make fun of it. I mean it's no Facebook. Gross.
Or TikTok.
Yeah, or MySpace, right? No, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, checks out.
Isn't MySpace cool again? Hasn't it done the full circle?
Has it? I don't know.
MySpace, you're cool.
No, it did. It switched to like being like a music platform for a long time there, and I don't know what it's doing now. Like I went back to
MySpace. Is it still a thing?
Huh?
Is it still a thing though? It's still like active or whatever.
The last time I checked was years ago. I'm like, oh, I wanted to go see what like my weird top 8 lists were, or whatever the hell, and like I went there. It was like MySpace.com, and it was just like essentially like a landing page for a bunch of bands, kind of like an iTunes.
That's what it still looks like right now.
Amazing. We checked the tapes.
There you go. Checks out.
Yeah, right on.
First thing it says, Bikini Kill Detail 2022 Summer Tour.
Well, I mean that's
Bikini Kill apparently.
Oh, we got a Smorgan in chat here. Twitter is somehow both the best in the world. It really is though, because like even the dumpster fires, if you have the right sort of wry sense of humor about it, can be like super fun. Like where you're just like watching the train wreck of like drama happen. And you're like, I don't have to engage that shit. And you're just like sitting there like with letting the Schadenfreude take over. Look, all of us have petty streaks. All of us indulge a little Schadenfreude from time to time. Or it's just me and I'm totally projecting and like trying to like make you all sound as horrible as I am.
We all have our guilty pleasures, and that little heart button's just so easy to throw fire on.
Right? Yeah.
It's one of those things too where when you feel like shit, you go look on it, you go like, other people feel like shit. Oh yeah. But then when you're feeling good and you look and you're like, everything's shit. Fuck. So it's like it's always just the thing to bring you back to neutral. It's like, all right, everything's awesome. Then you go look at Twitter for 15 minutes and you're like, holy God, the world is falling apart. And then you're like, oh, I feel terrible. Start scrolling. You're like, oh, there's some good in the world. Oh, it's okay. All right, I'm back to neutral.
Yeah, I follow some of the like a lot of some of the mental health streamers and stuff now, and so like getting some positive affirmation from them has been pretty sweet. So like that's been a bright spot. I'm actually wearing my Strange Planet shirt right now, compounding my sadness because that's what music does. No, it's so they pop up in my feed from time to time with their it's the Alien. It's listening to music.
That's awesome. Hell yeah, bro. See, one of the things too is that like it's a good reason to get your airbrush going is art is just so good for all that stuff. You just like start feeling like shit, do some art.
Well, that's the I mean the difference between like a sort of a passive hobby and an active hobby, right? This is something I identified with Alex a little while ago, Dr. Alex. Sort of like video games are like awesome. Like I like video games. But like playing a video game, I don't really like create anything, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
at the end of it, you don't have nothing to show for that time that you spent, really.
Unless it's like a really good game that has like made me think and changed my perspective, and which are few. They're so few and far between, right? Like there's a, in the last like several years, the games that have truly let me bring something back with them. I don't want to like downplay the role of art or music or film or anything out there that like changes our perspectives or our minds or makes us think or shows us some beauty in the world or sadness to resonate with or whatever it is. I can't downplay those, but at the end of the day, those like sort of passive hobbies, you don't like have a thing. And so if you are in like a mental health space, like you can hit like a resonant frequency with some of that passive art, but actually like sort of like turning like whatever's going on up here into something physical, like a mini. You don't really get to do that in those other media, which is why I think like AOS is such a great like hobby. You know, it you have that like you know, that moment where whatever's going on, you create a thing, and you get these little snapshots.
This is my thing.
Yeah, like I have, you know, I made this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I just
I live on that dopamine train too. It's like I'll put a thing on Twitter and then I'll just be like, oh yeah, some likes.
I need the validation.
I am motivated to continue.
I need the
I am okay.
Like, you got to fuel the machine.
So yeah,
speaking of art too, one thing that has really fueled my machine over the last, and I said something about this on Twitter, but like literally, I was not expecting how good it would make me feel, or like what it would do to me to see it, because like day to day, my work is to create apparel, and I do it for sport teams and all this stuff. But doing some jerseys for the Australian team that went to the Worlds, and then seeing all of the people they traded it with, and then seeing all the like everybody just wearing this jersey I made has been like literally my biggest dopamine fix lately. It's just like, that's really cool. And then like when I go to work and I start doing that again, I'm like, this is happening all the time. And that's really cool. Is that somebody's wearing a jersey that I made, and whether they know that I made it or not, it's just floating out there. It's just it's a thing. It is a thing that's like out in the world. It's like a little butterfly. So it's kind of cool. Kind of really cool. Art's awesome for that reason.
I agree. Yeah. No, whoever did the Milwaukee Bucks logo, the new one, absolutely adore it. So it's got the hidden basketball and the antlers, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And it's got the hidden M in the neck. So it's just like that.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, whoever did that knew what the hell they were doing. Well, new to me.
The design is something else.
Yeah. But like apparel art, I mean, because this, I mean, this is also tribalism too, right? Like I'm signaling to other fandoms, like I like this team, like it's
100%.
Yeah. I'll go switch hats real quick. No. It's but like art is sweet. Like I mean, there's the mental bandwidth aspect to it. Like I've been I've mentioned, I think, sort of at the cold open and offline a little bit, I've had some mental health struggles. I do mental health visibility posts, so I'm pretty open with this stuff, and trying to find that line between like trauma dumping and being an advocate is like an ongoing process for me. And I think I've found like a good balance where I don't go too deep into like traumas and like what has occurred, but just mention that something has occurred and kind of like, I think I'm towing a line pretty decently. But my go-to is usually writing.
Fair enough.
And so like when I need to like make a thing, it's writing or telling a story or something like that. I think part of the reason I've been in such a bad spin is because I have canceled a few podcasts, and not that I use you chat gang as therapy or anything like that, but this is telling stories. This is making.
Yeah, for sure.
We're all. We're having conversation, which is boom, check a social interaction box. But then also, I'm making this show, and then I release it to the Twitter sphere or YouTube or whatever. And now I've told stories, and this digital echo will just exist, right? So
sitting around the campfire, or just
right. That's
there you go.
Yeah. It really, like, I mean, it's the oral tradition now, right? Like as Socrates once called it, the oral tradition of storytelling, which would be that more campfire style or up on a stage. Podcasts fill that niche. Broadcast in general fills that niche. We got a little
late stage capitalist campfires.
Yeah, I guess.
One step away from robot arms.
See, that's it. At some point, I'm just going to be able to beam my thoughts to you. And, I mean, I kind of already do, though, don't I, with Twitter? Like, you just, now the thoughts in your head. Like, suck it.
Now you just need those augmented glasses that you have, like, your Twitter feed directly hooked up to your face.
Oh, yeah, so or the wires to the brain, like Johnny Mnemonic. Like, just...
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, see, the only thing stopping you from getting my thoughts in real time is the interface right now. You have to wait for your stupid meat to, like, interact with it. Like, as soon as we get rid of that, then we'll be in the dystopia I want to live in.
Get rid of the meat space.
Yeah, the meat the meat dimension. Oh man.
Why is there not a social media or social networking site called Meat Space? Oh, there probably is actually.
I think you're gonna want to go incognito for that one, brother.
All right.
If you're on your work's Wi-Fi, no less. Yeah, incognito. What's
We go to private mode real quick. Check for Meat Space. Yeah. Moving on.
Yep. All the fun parts of this Dystopia are locked behind a paywall. Yeah, that too, huh?
That's true.
It's funny
it
because
depends on where you live, though. I mean, there's a lot better healthcare out there than what we have going for us.
the speaking of Dystopia and hobbies, I was watching the other day, and there was something came up in my Twitter feed, and it was like person can win like their healthcare bill paid off or something like that. Like it was like a drawing on Twitter or something like that, and that got me thinking about like how much I love Chopped, like the show Chopped. I love like cooking shows. I can't help it. It's like it's a me thing. It's a problem. I'm working on it. Like I have 3 therapists actually. I have like my prescribey therapist. I have my talkie therapist. And then I also have like the therapist who's like I've totally just made up for this joke that tells me to stop watching garbage reality TV, and it's a work in progress. I'm working on it. But like how many people on there like win $10,000 from this like grueling cooking competition? Like we're like, they're like, and all of them are doing it to either pay off student loans or pay for their mom's healthcare bills, or like they just had cancer or something. I'm just like,
Paying off my chemo.
like we talked, and that's the thing is like you think about Running Man, right? And like how we like expected these game shows for human life. We're only like 1 degree removed from literally playing games to live. It's just an optic degree.
Well, that was like Survivor's whole like pitch, right? They might die on this desert island, not knowing how to live, and et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Like but it's so dressed up and gamified that it's like,
yeah.
Well, you're like, production's not going to let them literally starve or die on the island, right? Like, so we had that, but then if you zoom out that one thing, and like most people are doing it because they can't afford their medical costs, and like, no, actually, they really will die in reality if they don't win this money. It's just that stuff's not happening on camera. That stuff's all like in the periphery of the reality we just accept right now. Like that's just what we.
I mean, like Squid Game is literally only like a few ethics clauses away from happening. Like all you have to do is allow a few ethical questionable things to happen, and boom.
Right, and as long as like the folks are consenting up through like various parts of it, like the coercive forces that we live with in our day to day and within that game show will be absolved of responsibility, because like we don't really look at like
well, they said yes to it. Come on.
Right, yeah, like, or we don't look at the other coercive factors in your life that get you to make that decision to begin with, right?
That's basically the government right now, right?
Yeah.
Pretty sure. So,
yeah. Well, yeah.
Short of actually murdering people on live TV, it's really is like a degree away.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's just one optical degree away. It's work or die. It's do a game show or die. It's there's a reason our healthcare is hinged to our jobs, like it, right? Like we won't, like it's just, oh man,
crazy.
Yeah, no. So, but you know what's way cool? Warhammer and how not dystopian Warhammer. At least Age of Sigmar is. I think 40K is like 3 or 5.
I don't know though. I did see a pretty good meme the other day where it was like the dinosaurs, and then it was like oil, and then it was like plastic, and then it was like a picture of Seraphon, and it was like
oh yeah,
to make dinosaurs.
The circle of life.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah. We made real dinosaurs to make plastic dinosaurs.
Honestly, you kind of got to respect human ingenuity at that one.
Yeah.
There's like the Rusty Cage by Soundgarden, later covered by Johnny Cash. There's that line in that where he talks about like, I'm burning fuel, I'm burning dinosaur bones. I always thought it was like one of the most metal things I've ever heard. Like when you start to think about like, apart from like, however you might feel about climate change, it's bad, spoiler alert. Like the idea that we've made a machine that consumes dinosaur bones to go places is actually pretty fucking metal. Like that's pretty sweet. There's magic in reality, folks. You just gotta change your perspective a little bit.
Yeah, magic exists.
This is the point where I go to like a quick easy podcast layup. Sean, I kind of went through I kind of know how you got into Warhammer from a couple of previous shows we were on. Nick, your story I don't really know. How did you end up in Warhammer? Are you like a lifer of Warhammer like some other folks? Is it a recent? Yeah, like how can you paraphrase as much as you feel the need or whatever?
More or less, it's a lifer thing. I think I got into it originally way back when I was actually in Australia at the time when this happened. A friend there was like, "Hey, let's go to the shop," and it's like a little comic store type thing. They had cool little models and all that stuff.
Wait, you were in Australia?
Yeah. I grew up in Australia when I was younger, and I remember too. I got the 40K Eldar jet bike, like the way old school one where it's like that was like the first model I ever got for Warhammer, and then since then it's just been kind of off and on for a lifetime.
Yeah, right on.
Like to really bring it down, but yeah.
Yeah, right on.
That's awesome.
No, that's cool, and I love the little idiosyncrasy of Sean being on from Australia.
Yeah.
Head in the opposite direction. You sort of
happens.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So AOS, did you get into AOS like in the dark ages? We call it pre-GHB. Was it off and on too, or was that like?
Yeah. So I got into AOS right away. I bought the first set with the Stormcasts and the Khorne, and at the time I was in the military though, so there was like forced breaks there for various activities.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I remember the dark times trying to get my my Dark Elf Warhammer Fantasy Army to work in AOS with the GHB Grand Alliance stuff, and I was like, just throwing it, making it happen. But speaking of which, I am a member of the absolutely amazing gaming club Sons of Slambo here in San Antonio, Texas, and they are some of the most incredible people you will ever meet in this hobby, and they really were the fuel that just made AOS the game, make it like just such an integral part of my my life going forward. Talking about community, those guys there, guys and girls, there was just such a positive group of amazing people that wanted to have a good time, and that really just kind of set a template for me on how this game's supposed to play, the possibilities and the friendships you can get and grow from there. And it just definitely nothing but great memories.
the Sons of Slambo, a couple of them do the Everchosen podcast, don't they?
So they're guests there. That's I think it's mainly the Austin crew, and Gentleman James, he used to be on there.
Okay.
He was a son, but we'll pop up on various Texas podcasts and all that from time to time.
Okay.
I think Dan was just our president, El Presidente, Dan the Man. He was just on the Everchosen podcast going over the Slambo GT list and talking stuff. And he's like a driving force for all that stuff as well. He's an amazing human being as well. I have nothing but great things to say about everybody.
Well, that Slambo GT was just a couple weeks ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think
yet another FOMO situation.
Yeah, so some of the tough crowd actually came down for that too, and everything.
Yeah, well, we even had people from like Canada came down. The Just Play crew.
Bud was there, wasn't he?
Yeah,
representing the TC.
Yeah,
Just Play was there.
I'm pretty sure. fear of missing out, right? FOMO. I didn't actually get to go because of some healthcare stuff, but yeah. So, but I live vicariously through all those guys as much as humanly possible. So, and they keep me engaged. You know what I mean? Like even on my low times, when I've been going through all my stuff, they're always there and they're always ready to have a good time, talk some Warhammer, get on Discord, whatever. Take me back from those dark spots.
See, I think that's. That's one of those. I mean, that goes back to like the sort of beginning story is just that FOMO, that community. It's such a small thing to like that means so much to so many people to be able to like feel like you're sort of like warming your hands by the fire, catching that residual heat from that event you couldn't get to because you got stuff going on in life and like you wanted to go, or maybe you're not financially stable, you're not in the right mental health space or physical health space to make a trip. Like there's all kinds of factors that come in, and as a community I think it's important that we do sort of like build those bridges out. Like you don't have to go, you don't have to like, you don't have to like drive across it, grab someone and drive them over the bridge, like, but to at least just have the bridge there for other people, like I think that's really just all it is. It's the, in the social media age, it's one of the easiest things in the world to, even if it's okay, you don't want to like use XYZ scoring or app or any whatever, take pictures of the lists, ping, like throw it up on the internet, like it's take pictures of the tables, like it's just whatever you can do.
Half the time you can take a picture of the army and people can figure out what the list is. So like even you just see the army, you can be like, get a rough idea, and then you just be like, what artifacts are in there?
Know who's playing in the rounds and leave the onus on them to like out themselves and talk about their list and so on and so forth, right? Like so that there's you don't even not necessarily worrying about a privacy constraint or something like that. Let whatever it is. Yeah, it's
whatever. There's ways to get around all of these things.
Yeah,
we'll get there. It's always a work in progress.
Yeah. I think that,
and I think it's important when people know too. It's important for someone to know, I wish we were getting more, or, what have you.
Mm-hmm. I'll wait to get a message. Looks like family stuff. Yeah, no, it's, no, I just, I don't want to harp on that too much, but the more I thought about, like, how much this community has meant to me I moved to a literal island, away from my friends, away from, like, the city I consider to be my home. To raise a family, to do some of those like big adult things, right? And and Warhammer tournaments are like my excuse to like come off my island and go elsewhere. Tournaments for me became like the excuse to kind of like to reconnect and go back and stuff like that. And I think part of my malaise is, you picked up on it earlier, like I think actually Nick, you were talking about it, like the first big tournament after 2 years of people living on their own islands and their own bubbles, and like everyone just kind of wanting this to feel connected to their communities again. And it's just, you're gonna have a compiling or a compounding issue at that point, right? Like any little amount of negativity becomes a big amount of negativity with that modifier on it. So,
and everybody goes into it with all these crazy expectations because it has been nothing for years.
Yeah, and expectations, the mother of all letdown, right? Shit, I'm surrounded by water. Technically, I'm on a peninsula, okay? I'm on this little like thumb out into Lake Michigan, but I call it an island.
Is that what, if you were to go on a tour of where you live, would the tour guide say the thumb of Lake Michigan?
No, they wouldn't, because it's my little like mental short. Because when you look at the map, it's not even like, because there's the big thumb that if you do, so Wisconsin, you do, when you tell people you're from Wisconsin, you make the map like this. And you go, this is Wisconsin, and then there is a thumb, but this is like what is it? It's Green Bay's right here, and Milwaukee's down here. There's Madison's over here.
There's a little thumb.
Yeah, but there's this little like jut here that isn't the thumb. That's where I live. It's like this little like.
Oh, okay.
It's more of a, but it is it's on Lake Michigan, So
you're like the skin tag of Wisconsin.
yeah, more or
Yeah.
less. Yeah, that's actually like the best way to describe Sheboygan is like the skin tag of Wisconsin. It just
Kid Tech. Lovely. Just killing it.
Oh, I got it. You have music. Do you? I know you have music in the Upside Down because Sean has like excellent taste in music.
And speaking of which,
You know what I
my
reckon?
mom from there is actually a musician.
Really?
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
From Australia is a musician.
Yeah, my stepmom, she's from Australia. But
Bone
you know,
spur.
my mom. But yeah.
Your mom? Yeah, right on. The Bone Spur.
The wart. You can go down many directions.
No.
Well, now you're getting mean.
Yeah, I know. Well,
no, it's I've adjusted to the fact that this isn't Milwaukee after a while now.
Fair enough.
So it's you know.
But see, when you make moves like that, how important is that community too? Is like even when you can't be around it, like the ability to have some tap into it is quite important.
I
It's
wonder.
really good.
I have to wonder if I make a podcast, if I still live in Milwaukee, or if every Wednesday I'm at.
Yeah, you're
I'm
talking
at,
like you're there.
Yeah, I'm at Warhammer on Wednesday, or Thursday anyway, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that need to talk about Warhammer overflow and come out on the internet? It's worth thinking about. I'm a path of least resistance type individual. Like, I have to be really motivated to go out of my way to do something, or hyperfixate because ADHD. But that's its own thing.
That's how it goes.
But yeah, I mean that's the thing is tournaments are the excuse. They go, okay, I can take off from work. I can give my partner like, okay, you can handle the kids for this weekend. It's not quite the same as like a Warhammer weekend, right? Like where you're just going to the store for a Sunday. It's not the same thing. It doesn't have
it's a commitment. You bought a ticket.
Right. And I think some of our brains need that full commitment. They need that extra like sort of skin in the game type of thing, right? And it's
one thing that changes.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So much is like your personal responsibilities that you have as well. Because I know, like for me, there was a point in time where I would go to tournaments all the time, and it's like I didn't have other commitments that I had to do on a regular basis. Now it's like there are other people whose time that are not at tournaments is very important to them that I be there. So it's like you can't just jet away all the time if you got kids' soccer games or whatever sort of stuff. And so you just like that the fact that you just don't have that and like learning how to deal with that kind of FOMO where you go like you wish you could be there, but you don't want it to feel like you're not there at the expense of something. You're just not there because you want to be another place. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, you got to stack your priorities. You got to know where that lies for you personally as an adult.
I heard something today kind of specifically on this, how like the minute like sort of kids are in the mix of a relationship, it's not just like the accountability for your time is sort of like amplified, because like not only is it like like you and a partner, right? Like, and it's kind of like a 1-to-1, right? Mm-hmm. Your time and my time, it's a 1-to-1 trade-off, right? Like you want to go
especially
bowling.
If you both like time apart. Like if you want to go, I want to go do my thing. You want to go do your thing. It's mutual. We both.
Cool. We'll go. Yeah, you want to go to a concert. I'm going to go bowling. Cool. High five. Let's go. Right. Yeah. Like, but the minute there's kids involved, like there's like it's that modifier on it. Like it's partner and kid soccer game, right? And maybe your partner would rather be bowling too, right? Like it's and so there's that. Not that I mean I love my kids. I love going to their stuff. But again, it's that it's that.
Yeah.
Oh, my kid's my son. Lily knows exactly who the fuck she is, and she'll let you know who she is. So she's like fun to watch in that respect. But my son is developing. We talked about my competitive streak earlier. I don't know. I know where he gets it, but I don't display it openly in front of him. Like he's never watched me play. Like he didn't watch me in like martial arts. He didn't watch me swimming.
DNA, bro.
He didn't watch. That's the thing. Yeah. It's in the DNA, dude.
Osmosis.
Right. Whatever it is. And so like he's a fucking shit talker. he scored a goal and he immediately like went into the airplane and like and like ran a wide circle and I'm like, dude, humility.
Yeah, but you're clapping in the back of your head like that's my boy.
I'm laughing.
Yeah,
I was laughing. I'm like, my fucking son. Like, and he just like that pop off, and I'm like, oh, he didn't learn that from me. I mean, but
Yeah,
I know, right, right. And like,
that was the mom. That was the mom. I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. But and that's the thing is
learned it from school,
right? Learned it from a kid. He was clearly a kid at school, right? He knew about Stranger Things first. MTV.
Yeah,
that's where the kids. That's where the kids get all the things these days. Yeah.
Yeah, and the rap music.
Yep, rap music and MTV exactly.
Like we get my daughter to do stuff just by saying like, I'm gonna beat you to whatever it is, and she will literally just be like, I'm gonna win at dinner, and she'll be like, all right, and then she'll be like eating faster than everybody else. I'm gonna beat you to the bathroom to go have a bath, and she's like running off, like throwing clothes off on the way just to like be the first one to the bath, ready to have a bath, and you're like, all right, casually strolling behind, and you're like, oh, you won.
That chicken's coming home to roost one day. The competitive streak, throwing fisticuffs on like a volleyball court or something like that down the line, or rugby, whatever. I don't know what y'all play down there.
Or netball. Netball's a big one too.
Oh my god.
What's netball? Okay, what the hell is netball?
It's like
that was the biggest mistake of my life. I thought of it when I first got there.
Oh, Nick's cutting out a bit. You back with us, Nick?
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So what's netball? Yeah. Biggest mistake of your life. What's netball?
And now go.
Oh yeah. So when I first got to Australia, I was, from America, a kid and all that stuff. So I was like, no idea about the sports and things like that. I was big into baseball, basketball, American football, all that stuff. And I get there and I want to play basketball, right? And they're like, well, the team's full, blah, blah, blah. You can go play netball though. And I was like, oh, okay, what's netball? Oh, it's basketball without a backboard. You'll have a good time. I was like, okay. And then I go to play and oh my god,
the rules are completely different.
Yeah.
It's probably like I feel like it's closest. A lot of people know Ultimate Frisbee. It's probably the closest to like Ultimate Frisbee rules.
Huh.
Because you don't take the ball, like dribble all around, and like a lot of it is like catching, having small sort of areas to be, and having to pass from there. So like you're not running the length with the ball or anything like that. You're running into position, catching ball, and then passing, that sort of thing.
That sounds so boring. It's like, what if we made basketball less fun?
Perspective here. I found it boring. I'm not gonna lie.
What's that?
Yeah.
I found it boring, so I can't really, I didn't last. Yeah.
I'm not going to harsh on
off the ball stuff that's more important, right? So like basketball, I would say basketball probably lives in about a 75-25, where it's like 75% what's happening around the ball and 25% what's happening away from. Whereas like netball is the flipped. It's like 25% where the ball is and 75% off the ball.
Oh, I don't doubt that like any sport is challenging or any Hades here in chat. It's actually pretty fast paced and challenging. I don't doubt it, but if I can't see like a sick self alley oop, I just don't care.
You can still kind of alley oop. You probably you'd be more likely to see an alley oop than probably anything else from basketball.
Right, but no, I mean like throwing it, like you're dribbling it up and you throw it up off the backboard and you dunk on somebody. Yeah, if I can't see that, disgusting. No.
Yeah, I had a lot of those moments when I got there. Like the same thing with cricket, too. I was big baseball, always been big baseball, right? And they're like, oh yeah, you'll do great. Go play cricket.
That's like
I
baseball.
go to play. Oh my god, I hated my life. I was just standing out there, like looking around, like it was rough. And then what was the next
how many overs is this?
Yeah. Jesus. And then rounders, found that's like a mix of cricket and baseball. Like it was blowing my mind when I got there, all the sports.
And then you go to play rugby and you throw it forward and they're like, bring it back, forward pass, come on, buddy.
Or footy too, where you have to like dribble the football and like you have to you can't throw it, you have to like knock it.
Yeah, you knock the ball.
See, calling it footy, I already feel like you're both making something up. It's like drop bears. Like you just made something up there, and the silly only lived in American like has no idea what the fuck you're both fucking with me right now. Footy's not a thing.
I mean, at this point, I can just drop into, with State of Origin coming up, I'm quite surprised that the Blues went with Daniel Tupou or Josh Adokar. It's a pretty big upset, to be honest, in team selection. You just be like, zone out.
I agree.
No, I think that's interesting. No, I tried to understand cricket at one point in time. Like we like I like soccer, Euro foot, the rest of the world's football. I like soccer well enough. Big American like I'm a homer, so I like all like the like big American sports, football, baseball. But like soccer I can fuck with. I like soccer well enough. Cricket, I couldn't wrap my head around it whatsoever. I'm like I watched in my film class they made us watch a special one. They made us watch a Bollywood film that's like basically like supposed to be like the Field of Dreams or like the Rookie of cricket like movies. It's like this is like the best cricket movie that's ever been made, and it was like an Indian like Bollywood film, right? And and like they have this whole big dramatic moment where it's basically like the Sandlot scene where where like he's sort of like stealing the base and he's running back and forth, right? And he's trying to steal home. And like it's like that, but they did it with the cricket. I'm like, why are they running back and forth in a straight line? And like, why does he just like run up an elbow? Like, what are these spikes? Like my brain just melted. I'm like, I have no idea. I guess if you hit the post, it matters. Like I don't. Is there like a ring toss in there too? I don't fucking know. All right.
One of the things that's like crazy too is like the skills that are exemplified in cricket. Like you could watch people play cricket and you'd be like, all right, so that's a dude and that's a dude. They're like, no, that's the best swing bowler you've ever seen. You're like, okay, like what does that mean? And then you finally watch it and you're like, okay, so when it hits the ground, so when it cherries it hits and it curves around, and then they have to bat it away from the stumps. Oh my gosh, that's actually really, really technical and difficult. And you're like, yeah, cool, sweet.
Yeah, but as a young kid, like you get put out in the outfield and you're just like, you're watching grass grow half the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So a fielder in cricket is there's no game to play pretty much.
Yeah, you're literally watching grass grow. It's pretty bad.
It's interesting because there's
like,
go ahead. Sorry.
Like there's a pretty well-known cricketer who recently passed away, but there's this video of him, and it's pretty funny. But he's playing at a world level, and he brings two kids from the stands out to field for him, and he literally is just like, they're like 10-year-old kids, and he's just like, okay, all right, well when the ball comes, just pick it up and throw it. And so like Roy's just like stood there and he's like, don't worry, mate. Like when it comes, it's all good. And literally like the ball comes, picks it up, throws it. And it's like, it's the point where we have like, 30-year-old men who are out fielding, but you could replace it with a 10-year-old kid doing the exact same job. And it's just as good.
That's funny. Sounds like watching cricket is the equivalent of playing against the old Zinch Archeon build, but nice.
Way to tie it back in. You do this for a living, right?
Yeah.
Not for a living, no. No, that's good.
I will say though that rugby is almost certainly more exciting to watch.
I love rugby.
I can't harsh on rugby. Rugby's legit as fuck. I even like lacrosse, like which is makes me a weirdo, I guess too. But yeah,
it's not that big here though.
No, I like I like some like. I'll fuck with sumo wrestling. Like there's a lot of sports out there. It's not just like I, crack about being a homer so that I don't have to like ever defend my position. If anyone's ever like, well, this sport's better, I'd be like, I'm just a homer. Your sport's probably better. You're right. Like, no, it's I disagree regarding the like. That American football is boring. Now the ad time and stuff, which is like totally American.
It's the ad time that kills it.
It's like but that's not the game.
Free, it'd be really cool.
But that's not the game. Yeah. That's like syndication constantly like injecting itself into into it more and more and more over time. You know, and
But it
baseball
also pulls the endurance side of the game away. So like one of the things that's the most impressive about rugby is that you
or
have
soccer
guys that for
or
40
soccer.
minutes. Well, yeah, but I'm saying specifically about rugby in compared to gridiron. Soccer, they're running around all the time, yes. Rugby, they're running straight for 40 minutes and they're smashing into each other and taking pretty heavy contact.
Yeah.
So it's like you're standing back up after just getting like two dudes wrapped you and slammed you into the ground. And then you stand up, and 2 plays from now, you have to be able to run for a try. So it's like,
I wonder if
fuck,
that's why
these guys are fucking built out of brick shit houses. Like they're
Yeah.
so hardcore.
I have to wonder if that's part of the reason rugby has like one, they tackle different, like you're taught a different tackling technique in rugby because
Yep.
you don't have like armor where you're like, oh, I'm wearing armor, I can just throw this into somebody,
Oh yeah,
right?
100%.
But also because like you are playing more of an endurance game instead of like a burst game, you're not like
Mhm.
you're maybe not hitting the like the heights of impact like on those couple plays because we know that like with CTE it's like the micro, it's actually the micro impacts, like the linemen for instance are the ones that really get like problems with like concussions in CTE because it's those constant micro impacts.
Yeah, exactly.
In football. And so with rugby, because you are playing it on like a prolonged, I wonder if that's also one of the factors to why we see less concussions in
like
rugby. I know there's vicious
shit
hits,
tons of
but like,
concussions in rugby.
Yeah.
No, it's literally come to the point where right now people are getting so heavily penalized just for an arm coming up and swinging across the head that like they're pretty much trying to get all tackling like here and below, and then in rugby union it's pretty much like waist and below. Like if you tackle like even the pecs are a bit of like a questionable area because of the capability of someone holding a ball. You wrap here and it slides up. They're trying to cut that out of the games
see,
just
this
because CT is an issue, especially for these older blokes that played 20, 30, 40 years ago that like can't find their keys and they're like 50 years old
Yeah.
and they're holding their keys in their hand.
yeah, well, we're seeing some like sports medicine, sports science on CTE is something that like has become
Yeah, it's
certainly
fucking
right, and this is something we're aware of, and player safety is something that we need to devote to. But this is how you know I'm a fucking nerd and not like a machismo sports guy because you said all this, and immediately I'm like, I want a comparative study between rugby and football. And I'm just like, my brain's like, well, what's the science say about these? Like, I'm really like, what's the math on this? Like, I'm like, my brain immediately went to like science and math and like boring shit.
100%. There's studies on both.
Yeah.
Certainly there's at
Oh,
least
yeah, they're
two
there.
independent studies that you could put together to figure out the concurrence of head injury
Yeah,
in rugby
rugby versus like
and concurrence in NFL.
yeah. I mean, rugby careers are a little bit longer than the NFL specifically. NFL is like what the average is like 3 years, like career in the NFL. It's like it's absurdly low.
The average in rugby is less than 2 years.
Really?
If
Okay.
you average every player, like every
Right.
single player,
Yeah.
it's
yeah.
less than 50 games. So if a season is generally 24 games, and then you add postseason into it, which is about 6, it's just under 2 years when you add it up. I think the actual number is like 46.
Yeah,
46 or
you'd be
44.
looking at 48 games in an NFL season in 3 NFL seasons. It's comparable, right?
So yeah, pretty much the same. Yeah, the same amount of games just across more seasons.
Yeah, yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, again, this is like a comparative analysis I'd love to see, like between like rugby, because I think in there you could probably discern something about like the nature of these concussions and stuff like that. Like soccer is beginning to be aware of it, and I'm just going to say soccer not just because I'm a brazen American and to fuck the rest of the world, but because I'm talking about like American football and I don't want to have to keep making distinguish. So I'm going to say it's soccer. Got it. Concussions heading the football. The soccer ball. That's now where they're seeing like the concussions of CTE coming in. So like player safety protocols on heading the ball and stuff like that is changing, and it's interesting. It's like your mind is where you live. When that thing goes, that's where then everything else follows, right? Like so, I don't know.
All right, so here you go. NFL, there are around 140 concussions reported each season. NRL, National Rugby League, there were 191 concussions recorded affecting 90 players. So it's more spread around an NFL team because there's an average that Oh, okay, never mind. Said at least one player on a team would suffers a concussion every 5 games for NFL. NRL, 191 concussions affecting 90 players, so it's more common for repeated head injury.
Hmm. Huh.
Because if you're familiar with the way that rugby is played, generally is you have people that play forward positions and back positions, and the forwards are more commonly the ones that
the
are putting
linemen,
themselves in a situation where they
your
get
linemen are gonna get. It's like
close. Yeah, it's like the line. It's in rugby. The forward would be your lineman / running back, where you're always going to hand them the ball to try and make yardage.
Mm-hmm.
But they're also like the biggest guys on your team, so they can break a line.
Yeah, and anyone in rugby is going to get the ball at any given time too, because it's very, like it's not like skilled positions, right? Like, they do have skilled positions, certainly,
Well,
but like, yeah.
Any set could become an attacking set, right? It's like all it takes is one thing to happen, and you can suddenly be on the attack instead of on the defense.
Right. Fascinating. This is why by the way, the reason that Games Workshop's best game is actually Blood Bowl.
Yeah, Blood Bowl for sure.
Like they've
Isn't
got
the largest tournament for Blood Bowl like 5,000 people or something ridiculous like that?
I mean,
like,
if you're counting like
40K
the internet, maybe. Like, I don't know, like
I mean, like one in
game?
Britain was shit tons of people.
Really?
It was giant. Yeah.
And they basically killed off the game for like a decade and a half.
Yeah.
Really?
And still just people are just doing their own thing.
Well, that's the community power, right? Like this is where there we go. We talked about rugby long enough. I could finally bring it back to Warhammer and shit. I don't give a fuck what Games Workshop does. I know y'all can agree, disagree. That's fine. Everyone have your own opinion. This is a me thing. I'm not trying to talk for anyone here. I being the community focused one, like I just want Games Workshop to like make minis for me that look sweet and like competent rules and pointing and do that crap. The community stuff, I want them to like beyond like lip service and like giving me shit. I don't want them to run shit. I like go away. Blood Bowl is the same. Like look at how like they killed that game for a while and it stuck around as like the biggest thing.
Couldn't get rid of it. Yeah.
Because the community. I mean that's the thing is like I can still go play 3.0 Dungeons and Dragons if I fucking feel like it. I like just like kind of like this would be at my most libertarian. Like fuck off. Give me my minis. I'm gonna go play the game. Like and I'm gonna go run this tournament or I'm gonna go to that tournament and just piss off. Like leave me alone. Like, it's just me being an asshole.
Which is like what's that game? Well,
I think that's the
like
importance of community.
9-page and 1-page rules do that type of stuff, right?
What's that?
Sorry. 9th Age and 1-page rules both kind of do that, right?
Yeah, I mean that's cool. I mean I like that's like I know that for a while there we had the keto diet viral post about like 9th Age, but like whatever like the democratization of your free time is important to me. It's you choosing what you do with your free time because it is so precious, because you do have kids, because you do have family. And when it's time to like go to a tournament and play a game, I want that tournament to be something awesome that you fucking jive with, that and a little bit degree of standardization helps, match play helps, things like that help, right? I don't want it to be the wild west out here either, but
it just helps out. It's helpful to have labels. I think people talked about that a lot after. Well, people always talk about it, is that like being able to label a tournament is very important just for the sake of like expectations. So,
right. And citing
this is a timed competitive environment, and there's a death clock and there's a chess clock at the table.
Oh, death clock at the table would be pretty fucking sweet too. Like fucking Nathan explosion and fucking hit the clock.
Death clock at the table.
Yeah, like death clock at the table would be pretty fucking.
Well, that's what they used to get called in War Machine, because when you ran out of time, you lost. So if you let your clock go to 0, you lost the game immediately. Doesn't matter how many scenario points you had or whatever, you just lost the game. It was the same as you had your little HQ that had to stay alive, and if the clock died, that was your HQ dying. So it was a caster kill.
Interesting. I feel like you have some points in there, Nick, that got talked over a little bit there, or just no.
I mean, it all got pretty hit on more or less one way or another. So, but yeah. I couldn't tell you what I was gonna say. The brilliance is gone now.
No, it's in there. It has most out. We stole it from you, and that you made us better. You made us better. Trust me. No, it's no. I think the no. I mean that's the thing is like the community aspect is really where my focus is, and that's where I hold the line on that. And I think that's what makes me like internally consistent. I can have the opinion that I support ITC events and I support my homie Garrett Mulrooney who developed BCP, and now it's got a couple of other folks, and I can support people who want to play clocks in their tournament and all these myriad issues because I support a community focus. They're not incompatible with wanting your soft score heavy tournament too, with wanting to do this, that, or the other thing, because my line that I hold is remote community focus, and everyone else can have their opinion. I'm just pontificating here.
And as the responsibility of the community when you're doing that though is they got to be upfront and make sure that people are aware prior to spending money and making time commitments when you have all this stuff going on. You shouldn't find out
That's the transparency aspect. That's you got to be upfront about it. You got to write a great pack. You got to set the expectations. Like you said, the labels are useful because the labels set expectations for you, right?
A solid baseline to grow from.
Right.
Everybody has that same starting point.
Yeah, you have this like fulcrum, right? And then we can weight the scales on either side, whatever we feel like from there. But you have some fulcrum, some common ground that we all agree upon. Right, and that happens kind of organically over time. It really does. Like we've seen this happen with terrain rules. We've seen this happen with some of the deployments that were weird or messed up that like never got FAQ'd. Like we know that this scores this way. Like we do some of that stuff naturally as a community. We prior to the GHB we had a point system community driven and made. This shit happens organically. This is why I'm not too concerned with the like specifics of it. That's why I'm not really like picking a specific stance to argue for or against it, because like I said, the community tends to sort this stuff out. The best way to sort that shit out is to definitely go on Twitter and start shit posting and making fun of each other. That is the way to do it, so that I can have popcorn and enjoy that shit. God, yeah, I don't podcast
the drama. That's what keeps him coming back.
Yeah, I don't podcast in 2 weeks, and I come back full of just pure snark Mephisto. Sorry, sorry, you had to witness this. So Hades asks, what do I think of the game reveals? What excites me the most? What game reveals? I'm out of the loop.
From that Skulls convention. Warhammer Skulls has a bunch of stuff coming out.
Oh, y'all wanna Nick, do you what are these things? What got revealed that I should
so I'm only kind of quasi aware. I don't play a lot of computer games with the 3 kids and everything, but they made some announcements. The big ones I think is Space Marine 2 is really hyped, and they're trying to live up to a very awesome game that I played when I was younger, so and then what's the other one?
The Space Marine 1 was sweet.
Yeah. And then what's the other one? The where you can play as 4 classes. It's almost like Dark Tide or something like that. I don't know. It's
Dark Tide,
Tide, only 40k and shooting people. And then they did a Doom old school bolt gun. There you go. And that had the best commercial for it too. Some dad going up into the attic, pulling out some boxes, and then pulls out a floppy disk bolt gun, and then it just cuts to it, and it's so
okay. That sounds awesome. That's I respect the hustle immediately on the ad alone. That's fantastic. No, I think that's cool. For what it's worth, I love
an RPG. Like a Rogue Trader RPG, I think.
Oh yeah, the Rogue Trader computer CRPG is supposed to be coming out too.
Yeah. Oh, I hope that's a Planescape Torment style game. That'd be pretty fucking metal. For Rogue Trader, I'll have to look into these.
They announced Blood Bowl 3 too. Speaking of which,
I just got my beta code or my beta key again, so I didn't redeem that yet. I'm gonna go do that.
I don't know a little more about that.
Yeah, the best game Games Workshop makes is Blood Bowl, and here I'm slacking on getting my Blood Bowl league going again. It's been a hell of a year for I empathize with everybody out there who's struggling with something right now, or you've got what was the quote I heard today? Because I'm alone in my work truck all day working outdoors. You can see my farmer's tan. Yeah, coming in here. Look at that pristine Irish skin next to this lobstrosity I've become. The full on farmer's tan and everything. Yeah, so I work outdoors all day, get in a utility truck, drive around, so on and so forth. I'm alone with my thoughts, like for a lot of time. I listen to music as much as I can. I listen to podcasts, whatever's in my periphery. Everyone checking knows a lot of true crime because I'm a fucking weirdo, and other stuff. I was listening to some, of all things, and they said that if you're going through something right now, and if you're trying to feel better, you're trying to get better, you're trying to better yourself, you're gonna feel like dog shit, because your brain is used to surviving and being in whatever mode it was in before as normal, and so naturally, going against that normal phase, even if it's trying to be better, you're gonna feel like you're getting worse. And I heard that shit, and I'm like, it wasn't a fucking poem, it wasn't a film, it wasn't any high art, it was just some dude swearing into Twitter, where I guess that Twitter's great, and I'm like, yep, and so I empathize with everybody, because we're all fighting our own battles, up and down, and trying to reconnect to the community, and reconnect to what I set out to do with my podcast, and all these things, is something that just like the Kool-Aid Man just busted through my head 2 weeks ago, and it was like, oh yeah, and just that was a little bit more Macho Man than Kool-Aid Man, but Macho Man, yeah. So Macho Man came busting. Oh yeah, Mephisto, you're gonna get back in there, and you're gonna do podcasting again and talk about the community. Tower of Power, too sweet to... Yeah, so the Macho Man impression. You're welcome, chat gang. Like and subscribe for more of my Macho Man Randy Savage impression. No, it's... it was just like... I kind of want to... That's why I called tonight, Don't Call to Come Back. I wanted to reset. Yeah. Been here for years, but I wanted... my statement, my affirmation to chat gang is I ain't going nowhere. I've been a little inconsistent lately, but Age of Sigmar is my passion. I'm a man of many passions, and it's chief among them. So I'm gonna put my money where my mouth is. I will have a Airbrush stream.
Oh shit!
Sometime in the next, we'll say, month or two. June, July are June is bad for work, and stuff like that. But I'll get it in the books. What about the Rogue Trader RPG? I don't know. I got to look into them. Sounds sweet. I'll have to look into them.
Look into it.
I'll have to look into them. I'm excited for Blood Bowl though. Is what they're CR.
The one thing that's interesting too is with the airbrush thing is I've actually really, really stopped using my airbrush as much as possible. So I've been trying to do a lot more stuff with my brush, and I actually like it more.
Really?
Yeah, I'm just an old school guy, I think, at heart. And
no.
I learned everything through traditional art means, so I've been spending a lot more time using my brush to do things rather than my airbrush.
Lie to me.
I mean, I love my airbrush, and to be honest, if I had a space to use an airbrush more often, I probably would. But my workspace for hobby is in my lounge room, so there's many reasons why an airbrush running all the time is really just negative in general, because it's noise pollution probably more than anything else. Because I can figure, I can do ways to ventilate the air and all that stuff, but you can't really stop the noise of it. So I just don't use it that much. I go actually out in the laundry room and prime everything and put a zenithal on it, and then I gently bring it in and work entirely in the house with brush.
Well, you do insane work. Are you still on your like Chiaroscuro kick and shit? Like, not Chiaroscuro.
I do that when I do display pieces primarily.
Okay.
So like if I do a display piece, what I do is I grab my master's palette, is what they call the colors, but it's really just like mostly earth tones, and then like a teal, like a copper green. It's basically just all the pigments that people would have had like 400 years ago to paint with, and it wouldn't have all the like new reds and shit like that exist. I just paint with that. But I don't know. Age of Sigmar wise, I've just been having fun and trying to have fun, and then finding the army that makes me the happiest to paint, and recently it's been Seraphon, so it's good.
Seraphon's a good. They've been consistent. Who knows what the hell will happen in the future, but they've been pretty consistent, so that's sweet. I'm sad to see you.
Painting lizards is fun.
Yeah, I mean it's something like quintessentially, and like it goes straight to like the child brain. Dinosaurs riding dinosaurs with laser beams, like
yeah.
Yeah.
I think this is my my son's. This is my son start collecting. So this is his first army,
buddy.
Actually. So
get him a Bastillodon and have a good time.
He's got 2 Bastillodons that were donated from Christian Ware. Take good care of him. We shipped him. We exported him back to Australia. He was from the Midwest. He was one of the sort of best gaming ambassadors I've ever met. So take good care of my boy down there in the Upside Down. He donated a display board to my son Colin, 2 Bastillodons, awesome. and then Dave, my friend, got this for Colin for his birthday, Christmas. I think it was Christmas.
Man, that's awesome.
The community right there.
Well, that's the community.
Community.
Right?
Yeah.
Down and hell. So Nick, lie to me about airbrushes and tell me a little bit about your hobby.
So, if you want me to lie, I'll just say airbrushes are amazing, the best thing ever. I honestly don't have much experience with airbrushes. So I had one, but I was so intimidated by it for God knows how long. It was literally in a box for at least 6 months in my garage, where I never even touched it. And then
I'm currently reporting this rant because I'm in it and I don't like it. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, no. So yeah, it could have even been longer, to be honest. But I got it, and I was just so entrenched in my ways, and like, well, I've got this can of spray paint here. I need to finish that before I, but I want these guys to look exactly the same as all these other guys. I can't just switch to an airbrush right in the middle of it. I was like
finding the next excuse. Yeah.
And one day I just kind of like, man, I spent this money. I did all this stuff, and all right, let me see what it's all about here. And I just kind of did it. And actually, the picture of the Tau guys I sent you, that was done with an airbrush, and that was the first time I did anything besides
so we got the Tau sitting up here
priming with it, so yeah,
right on. You
but I would love to get better at it, and because I see all the things, I watch all these YouTube tutorials far more than I actually paint myself, and I see all the amazing things people are doing and all the great stuff, and I'm like, I want to do that, and I just gotta keep going and get there sometime.
I actually got one of your thralls up right now. Loving the green, by the way. This plume on the back. This is that pop, and you got. So I'm a sucker for purple and green on models. So nice.
Yeah, purple seems to always end up. Purple and blue always seem to be like my go-tos. Like I'll have this big idea of doing like something new and unique, different for me to mix it up a little bit, and then half the time I end up going back to purples and blues because
No, everyone's got like I think their comfort color, and at some point part of it becomes like a little bit of like your it's called a voice in art. Like part of it becomes your voice, that artist's voice, right? So like Sean's got his glow effect that is, I swear, like it's. Speaking of the dystopian future, when I'm a partial robot and I've forgotten all my friends, I will have like done something horrible, and I'll be like coping with the fact that I'm no longer human, and then I will see like a mini, and I'll see that glow, and I'll be like Sean, and I'll have like weird flashbacks to my podcast, and it'll bring me back.
I even have it on my Seraphon now too. I do it like I'll put fluoro orange on their backs.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they got little fluoro orange little bloopies.
I gotta like. It's interesting because you talk about the community. I know I'm gonna be picking Sean's brain here to finish my Castlevania army, because it's got it's gonna be playing with like a different like angle for colors. And you do that with some of your glow because you'll have like underglow instead of like we're taught to sort of like imagine the light up above and off to the side and paint that way and zenithal that way. So just something to pick your brain because like I kind of want these things like all like underlit or just like at unnatural angle because it's horror, right? Horror, like if you ever watch like a good horror film, like the cinematography in like a good horror film, they're usually fucking around with the lighting, right? Like the lighting's coming at the wrong angle, and that's part of what gives the scene its eeriness. So I want this.
I mean, that's like I had like a 75 mil model I did that was like this demon, and I literally my goal was I saw there's like a master. His name's Kirill Kerayev, and he's like one of the most insane painters of miniatures, and he does a lot of really good OSL. And so I was just like, I'm gonna cut out most of the like distraction of like making every piece a different color and stuff like that, and just literally use like lava underlit, and then just try and like show different materials by the way that they're reflecting that light, and then everything underneath it would just be like whatever color it may have been has been so washed out by this like fire lava color. So that was a really fun one. It was so long ago that I can't find the pictures of it probably right now, but it's I don't know, it's fun to do that stuff. Like, and one of the things too is you get trapped in this idea with models. I think a lot of time that you have to paint everything individually a color, and so you like want to make sure the belt is a color and the weapon is a color and the pants are a color and the shoes are a color and everything's got to be a different color. Sometimes when you throw all that away and you just make everything be like the same color in variations, you end up with like this cool, really cohesive thing versus being like purple pants, green shoes, blue thing, red thing. Like playing with saturations, I think, is a really important one when you do stuff like that. So like with your Castlevania one, let's say we just do
red and black.
Do purple.
Well, red is like the
okay, so
color.
Yeah. So if you underlight everything in red, you come black at the top, and then all you're doing is you're picking out where the light would catch edges. So you're pretty much edge highlighting from the bottom, like the brighter reds or the oranges or that sort of thing. It's you'll end up with a thing that has a very distinct look, right? Is like you look at it and you go, that is underlit red. That's exactly what it is, like that sort of thing.
Yeah, I picked up these are specifically for the Castlevania army. So basically just it's just going to be like red and black with like some white for like where stuff's washed out white for like skin, because I want the vampires to be like really pallid and washed out. It's based on the original Castlevania artist. I'm forgetting her name right now. I think it's like Ayanami Kojima, actually, something along those lines. Her, like, you see her original oil paintings. She everything is like basically red, black and white. That's it. She doesn't. It's everything's red, black, and white. Nothing else. So that's the inspiration. So it's going to be like red, black, and white, but like the color is red, and so just playing with those there. Sounded like you had a.
I know some people did like what do you call it? Cursed City boxes like that.
Yeah, I've seen a few like that.
Yeah, because the Cursed City box art is that red, black, and white. It's not like the full same vibe, but it's kind of like a monochrome version of that, right? And that's like super dope. Yeah,
very similar.
Yeah, sorry, you it felt like you had a thought in there, Nick, when we were sort of discussing.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with you on the on that. I don't know. It's hard for me because like I think I don't know. I got that hardwired like approach to painting minis where I guess not the GW style, but like every mini needs to be the absolute best I can do. It doesn't matter if it's line trooper number 85 or if it's character guy. I got to paint it to the best I can. Highlight is all I can. Blah 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 blah. And it's been really hard for me to kind of start experimenting with new things. And actually, it got to the point where like actually after those thralls, I don't think I painted anything for probably again 6 months, a year or so, until randomly I was moving houses, going through stuff, and I found that box of the Tau stealth suits.
I've got one
and I was just
right now.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, these are pretty neat. I could try this, blah blah. And oh, I got the airbrush. Maybe I can like actually. And it was like I had like this weird motivation, and that's the first time I've ever used oil paints as well to do recess panel lining. There you go, that's the word. And then like the mineral spirits and wiping things off and trying to do all that stuff with it. And like it was just fun for once, and I was just in it, you know. And it was crazy because like I had no real motivation. I was still consuming AOS content like nobody's business, you know, watching every painting tutorial, podcast, et cetera, but actually getting that like motivation and that, what did you call it, that I don't know,
the zest, the spice,
the
fire,
that little something actually
that spark,
it just
I will never forget my buddy Patrick when I was still a manager at Barnes & Noble before I became a pure blue-collar slob. I was always a blue-collar slob. My first job was an auto body shop. I just rejected that reality for a while. Now I found a harmony between being like a weird art weirdo and blue-collar slob, and I'm liking it. They all come home to roost in Warhammer. I've said 1,000 times, I'll say again, Age of Sigmar is where all the voices in my head come to play. I might have like a bunch of passions. I might like I might have a bunch of passions. I might be working pretty hard on my vampire game right now. But the thing that will always make Age of Sigmar stand apart for me, the thing that will always it is that place where all those voices come together. And this next bit, I wanted Nick to be around for this. Not bit, but this next thing I really wanted to talk to Nick. So we'll wait for him to come back. The I can't months military stuff. Let's I'm just gonna take the time to say something personal and thank you. Regarding grief, I said something one time, and you told me that it's like a ball. That's like
the ball.
And you told me that metaphor, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately with my dad and stuff. And you knew about my mom prior, and which is where my grief thing came from. I'm not going to reset that for anybody. I don't want to dig up any trauma. But you told me about the ball thing, and like I told us, I think I talked about it like kind of off air. Like my dad came back into my life again recently, and this thing's going on. And I've been thinking about the ball a lot lately. And I've been thinking about that thing that I heard on Twitter about like, if you try to better yourself, then, it's going to suck. And I've been thinking about both those things. So I just wanted to thank you on a personal level. So
yeah, for sure, man.
Sorry about that.
One of the things too.
Yeah, no. Is it okay or?
No, it's okay. My youngest daughter apparently decided, since no adults were downstairs in the kitchen area, she could have 3-4 ice cream sandwiches.
I mean, that's
living her best life.
Yeah, you got to be a parent.
You ever, dad mode.
Before you do the jump in there, Sean, do you ever have those moments where, as a parent, you want to cheer them, but like you have to stop them?
It's so hard.
Where you're like, no, you have to like be the parent, and you're like this is, don't do this, but then inside your head you're like,
yeah. And now the oldest is throwing paper airplanes at me.
Fantastic.
Sorry. Like when they climb up on something, and you're like, before you go get down from it, you're like, wow, how'd you get up there?
Respect.
Yeah, I know, right?
Sorry, you were saying, Sean.
Well, one of the things with the ball thing too is, I think like the original way that I kind of heard it, understood it, and kind of applied it in my life is the concept that the ball gets smaller over time, like, and just to kind of like repeat it, it's just the idea that with grief, it's like you're a circle, and inside of you there's a circle, there's a ball of grief, and it's like sometimes it hits the edges, and when it hits the edges, it like jars you. That's when you feel it, right? So at the start of it, the grief's really big into the you, so it's hitting a lot. But then, like, kind of the original way was that the grief gets smaller, but then so the ball is hitting less often. It's like those little screensavers. But then like the reality is probably closer to the fact that the grief stays the same size, the ball stays the same size, and it's just that you grow bigger around it.
Mm-hmm.
So that way it's hitting less. It's like the life, basically that ball is all that time at and before the trauma event happened, especially when you lose somebody, is like everything that happened up to the point that they're no longer part of your life. And then everything outside of it is like everything that happens
That's that growth.
from that point on. And then so there's that ball is all that stuff, and then all these other things are kind of like filling that space around it. You get bigger, you have more experiences, whatever, and so that's what causes the ball to hit less.
Yeah, I think that was the quote where we kind of ended up having that conversation, is because I had heard, like, grief never gets smaller, you just make yourself bigger, and I think it's less accurate to say that you make yourself bigger. I think it's just you grow,
just become.
You grow bigger with all those experiences. Like now I have.
Time continues. That's the thing that sucks. Like time just keeps going, so you can't stop and be like, hold on, let's stop time real quick and not have experience for a while.
I'm working on necromancy here, okay? No. It's
but
true.
Even still, that necromancy is still happening beyond that initial time of happening. Time travel. Okay, let me start talking about some weird.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. All right, bring it, RantCast. Let's go.
Quantum multiverses and stuff like that. We don't need to too much.
No. I mean, we know that time's a flat circle. No, it's the like you said, time doesn't stop. I think it's the impermanence of things that helps give them value. Paradoxically, because I know I play death and necromancy and immortality through death and blah blah blah. That's hilarious. But that's me taking like trauma from my youth and turning it into my superpower.
But
just like I call the show RantCast because I don't want someone to say I talk too much. It's fucking called RantCast. What do you expect?
What it's for?
Yeah. Right.
Well,
yeah.
Oh, what I was just gonna say, to like, in regards to kind of how time continues and like things keep happening, and you do all this stuff, and sometimes it's like it's a way for almost like turning that little bit of grief into like part of what powers all that too. It's almost like a little power source inside there at times, where it's just like it is the thing that is pushing you to keep moving forward. Because I think when we were kids, well, at least I know when I was a kid, there's this like idea that you want time to like push forward faster, and then you suddenly realize more and more over time that life is not a race at all. Life is literally an endurance run, like because you watch people of your same age die. You watch people older than you die, younger than you die, and it's this continuous thing where you're just kind of like, it's my response, and it's one of those things that it's really hard when you start talking about self-harm and things like that. But it's like when you see all this other stuff happen around you, you almost have to look at it as like, I have to be thankful of the fact that I have literally what small amount of thing that I have, and like protect that. Like if it's your family, if it's you, whatever, it's like literally just protect whatever tiny little thing that you have, because it literally can evaporate tomorrow. So just like you protect it as much as you can. So it's like you have your ball inside you have your ball outside you, that then becomes what you want to be, that protecting, like you want to be the protecting sphere around that little thing too.
Yeah.
I don't know. I live in a lot of metaphors and things like that, but that's the way that I feel. Is I feel like I try to use that grief and that sort of thing to be what makes me be the protector of the small little things that I do have.
Yeah, I've always I call it the main tank mentality, where I've always been willing to kind of like throw myself between
like shield up
things I value and whatever I perceive as harm. It's really, according to my therapist, it's been kind of a problem for me. Is that like I'm so willing to like be the shield that like but what happens to Andrew? She'll literally say, she's like, but what happens to Andrew when you do it that way? Like, like what happens to you? What happens to a shield when it gets hit? It gets dented, and if you haven't been working on those dents for 37 years. You know, what's
a pretty beat up shield.
You know, how much longer can you keep protecting everything? And I'm like, so you're saying I need to find a blacksmith? No, Andrew, I'm not saying you need to find a fucking blacksmith. I'm saying you need to keep coming back to therapy. I'm like, all right, fine, lady. No. So, I didn't want to. So like, I had these like painting questions for you, Nick. And you had to go deal with the sandwich emergency. So I'm like, I can't ask these now.
Ice cream sandwich.
Yeah,
Sorry.
no, I like ice cream sandwich gate. No, you don't have to apologize for me. But like I said, it's part of the RantCast vibe. My son was in and out of here showing me yin yang symbols because he just now today apparently found out that that's a thing he can draw. She's like obsessed with it.
Yep. Well, I'm pretty sure that's what's going on with the paper airplane situation. There's literally a trail of them going out the door.
She just found like the great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she like Dad's doing the podcast things is like new and awesome. The fame of it all. You can tell you're famous now. I'm being syndicated to 1,000. I'm kind of a big deal. Dad's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, no, because of course I am actually engaged in doing something else. This means they actually want all my attention. But if I'm actually like, hey, let's do something. Oh no, I'm busy. I'm watching something. Whatever. Like, freaking kids, man.
Keep that. Revel in it right now. You hold that.
Yeah.
No, it's good. I mean, Sean talked about like protecting stuff, and that's
yeah.
No, it's. I mean, I love my family. Family first. Warhammer's a close second. But always.
Yeah.
I think that like that's. I've always been like cool with kids, like so that made me like a weird, dude growing up, like because I was, I was like the. Like if the old, like, I hang out with like the older brother or whatever, and they like had a, their mom had a new baby. I'm like, I would actually like, be okay holding the baby and so I've always just been that guy. And so I have my family now, and I've just like, like I said, that I think this is before we went live. I was standing, I've done it. I did all the things, and I'm like, why the hell am I? Why am I not happy? Why am I not? Why haven't I like? Why hasn't the fucking confetti fallen? And where's the like mission accomplished banner? Like, what the fuck is going on? But like, like you said, it's not. There's no, there's not really a finish line to cross in life. It's a. Maybe it's my dirty millennialness talking, but like the experiences along the way, the friends, the community, like all that shit, the little microcosms that you affect as you go through it all. That's the worthy shit, right? Like that's. Right? I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
So I don't know. So yeah, painting Warhammer models, everybody.
So smooth. Just
yeah. Look at that professional segue right there. Like, talk about.
You can tell you've been doing this for a while.
I actually do think I'm really good at it. Believe it or not.
You nail it.
That was, but no, I do think I'm pretty good at this. I got to take the W's where I can. So I'll answer this question real quick. Hades, do I consider Terminator to be a horror film? The first one, yes. The second one, absolutely not. And anyone after the second one, absolutely not. The first one is a horror film. It has horror sensibilities. The Terminator is essentially a monster. It has no... I mean, they even say it. It has no... It doesn't think. It doesn't blah. It can't be stopped. Like, it just... Like, they literally say, like, it's a monster. It's coming to kill you. It might as well be Jason, right? And then it's a character drama... between was it John Connor and Sarah Connor, essentially.
Yeah.
So you have like the character drama and then like horror unstoppable force. And then 2 is like pure action. Like it's like but that's fine. Jim Cameron knows what the hell he's doing. We lost Sean, I'm sure he'll come back in a second. So you were talking about like you kind of like experimented with sort of like new painting techniques and stuff like that for this. What was really interesting about sort of like the story you were telling was how like you kind of like just stumbled upon the box of Tau and like you're not really sure where that spark came from because you kept consuming the content. And
yeah, that inspiration had just been lacking for I don't know how long, because I know I with all my stuff going on, I go through those little ups and downs and pits and valleys and all that stuff, and I basically sold almost all my Warhammer 40k stuff off long ago, and I have some like random little kill team stuff for just in case. But like I had no idea I even had these guys, and I was just like, oh, and it just like hit me.
Huh. I mean, that's cool. You can't really like, you can't really control it, right?
I can't, not because I mean I've been watching all these videos, right? I love watching, like Vince and, all these other crazy, YouTube content creators on how easy the hobby is. Do this crazy technique, try this, do this, blah, 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 blah. And it never actually got me to take those steps on all the other like line of models I've had going forever. And then, randomly this $35 box of three space communists just did it for me.
Yeah, the space communists. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting. I mean, was it just like
So I couldn't tell you if so as the Slave to Chaos moniker would indicate, I'm like a massive Chaos fanboy. Like you with Death, like I'm all about trying to control the demonic to make it metal, blah,
base,
blah, blah,
base,
right?
yeah, that's sweet as hell.
Yeah. So I just don't know if I saw it and I was like, oh man, these are such like clean, smooth, techie, sci-fi, blah 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 blah. I was like, huh, I was like, wow, maybe and it just kind of I couldn't tell you. I honestly could not tell you.
Well, because you were talking, because part of this whole story was like how you kind of had your process too with stuff. Like you don't, like this is how I paint a mini. I take all this time with this XYZ.
Yeah.
I don't do the like panel lining with the oils. And you kind of went through that. And so was it just like you needed that like different angle or that different perspective? Like
It could have been like I think so. When I have my army or my models, right? I always look at it as an army, as a complete whole entity, right? I can't. It's so hard for me to go, okay, well, this unit right here, let me try something new and do all this stuff, and oh wait, it's not going to look anything like this unit over here. It's not going to look like a cohesive force on the battlefield, fit my theme, my crazy idea of what the army should look like and do. So like it's really hard for me to experiment on something I already have in the works or already going,
Mm-hmm.
And I think just having this like random outlet that like it didn't matter what I did with it, like whatever. I could totally, burn it to a crisp or, cover it in whatever enamel, blah 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 blah, and I was not worried about it whatsoever. So I think that like fear or apprehension that was maybe holding me back was just like there was no risk, and it was like I said, I think they're $35. It's one of like GW's cheapest little kits for those three dudes. So I was like, even that like monetary loss was not like a factor, because sometimes you look at these models like my Varangard, right? I have 6 of those that I haven't painted at all yet because I'm like, holy crap, that's $100 and something for these 3 cavalry guys. Let me wait and do this stuff over here. Make sure I've honed my skills before I, approach that. So,
why I don't use my airbrush, a fear of setting it up, a fear of ruining it, a fear of messing it up, a fear of clogging it, and I can't fix it, right? So it's like it's easier to just collect the dust. Same thing with like I've got piles of minis sitting around me right now. Just this is my new necromancer, because every time I start a new death armory, I have to make a new necromancer. I even
perfect.
Took
Manfred's cloak, right?
Archons, but
okay,
same kit, right? So there's a 3D print with some heavy modifications from me, and I ordered the 3D print. I don't have a 3D printer. I've got like I've got like direwolves sitting around here. Putting them together isn't where I ruin it. It's when I paint it I ruin it, right? Like, so I'll just like keep building and building and building forever. You can kind of see the shelves behind me.
Yeah, I could go show you my garage right now, and it's the same thing. I have shelves of all my armies. Everything else is all painted up and da-da-da. Even some of them are like Prime, Zenithold, all that stuff. They're ready. Like literally, I have no shortage of models to paint and ready to go. But yeah, I do the same thing. I just I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I love converting, making it my own, doing all this stuff. But when I have that approach where when it comes to painting, it's like it's not like pencil drawing where you can just erase it and start over. It's like, and I don't know.
Well, I mean, you can though. You can just paint over.
You can,
right?
but it just it doesn't click in my head like that.
Same.
You know?
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, I'm
I
right there with you. I'm right there with you. So like I'm saying
Yeah.
the thing to you to like counterpoint you, but I'm really saying it back to myself because I'm trying to
Right.
get over my own apprehension.
So,
here.
and the same thing though. I've tried stripping models, right? I've used all these different things and blah 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 blah, and half the time I do that and I just don't. I don't even bother to go back to it.
Yeah,
you know?
here's the stripped Lauka Vi. You can see how successful
Yeah.
that was.
So those thralls you were looking at,
Mm-hmm.
I have since stripped and reprimed them as well because I wasn't happy and I had a different idea for a theme I wanted to go with, and I was like, oh, I got to start all over from zero. I can't just like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. No, I
don't
get
know.
you. I get you. It's just like right now I'm just like wondering what's inside of us both that like we're like, no, this has to be, if I'm gonna do it, it's got to be perfect. If I can't make it perfect, I can't start it. If it's not perfect when I do it, like like whatever, what is that? Where's that come from?
Yeah, well, so that's a big part of it. Like I honestly would like started a lot of the conversations that we did have prior to this was like your mental health outreach or
Yeah.
Purge, whatever you want to call it. Like a lot of it resonates with all the stuff I've been through and gone through, especially over the past 3 years. And so like, I was just like, oh man, there's a community again. There's a guy that loves this thing I love that is like literally going through a lot of the same things. And well, not exactly the same, but close enough.
Right. Yeah.
Like that standard ground.
Yeah. There's that resonance. I think I've stolen my friend Nick's metaphor here. He calls Age of Sigmar an island of misfit toys. And I just like, I think that's kind of broadly speaking in nerdery, but in Warhammer especially, like I feel like there's two like major demographics that make up the Warhammer like community. It's socially marginalized, like, and it's veterans. And like you said, you're an Army veteran, 16 years. Like and so it's just there's something in this community that brings us, it draws us in, and I don't think it's just a war game. I think there is something to that, like that, making a thing. Like I love converting models, and like
So so I can honestly say, like, even though I'm a veteran and all that stuff, I really don't think that played into my Warhammer mindset addiction. And I don't know. I have such a, I don't know. I describe my almost my whole upbringing is very chameleon like. I moved around so much. I did all these different things, different countries, blah 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 blah. When I got somewhere, I learned that hey, you need to, I don't know, I don't want to say adapt, fit in, change, whatever, so I always found it easy to make friends, always found it easy to, I played sports, I was quote unquote popular, whatever, and but Warhammer had always just, I don't know, it just kind of that creation mindset, because when I was really young, before I even moved to Australia, I was actually being molded into a professional artist, for lack of a better term. Like I took these I don't know, school tests thing, whatever, and they're like, oh wow, you're really good, go see these people. And then all of a sudden I was in like a special school for artists and drawing and things like that. And I've just always had this strong need to create and do things and be artistic, I guess. So I think that's why it just like has stayed with me throughout the years, even though like through my world journey or whatever you say is like I've gone off and done crazy things.
Yeah. Do you do like other art too, or is it just Warhammer? Do you like do 2-dimensional art? Do you paint? Do you
not
sketch,
anymore?
Draw? Yeah.
Not anymore. This is the only real like artistic outlet I have.
Is it a family? I got a family. I have to like really kind of pick my pick my moments and call my shots. Is it a time component or just like the 2-dimensional art or the other art's not
So I think a big part with this too is like I grew up in not the perfect home, right? And it was basically me and my single dad instead of a single mom. And he worked all the time because he was providing, et cetera, et cetera. But the times we got, we would bonding stuff would be. Like, besides the man stuff, it was like, here's a model car, here's a model rocket, because that was popular, in the 90s and stuff like that. So I don't know if I just like associate it with a similar sort of like good times in my life type thing, or these really fond, strong memories that I had of my dad, which is like the most important person in my life because he was the only one there for me for such a long time.
Yeah.
And so I grasp onto these like, echoes of, memories that the time I did actually get to spend directly with him, it, is kind of a comparison, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like,
and humans are complicated. We could figure out like one thing that we're like, yeah, that's got to be it, and then like another 10 years, maybe it's that, right? But no, it's just a curiosity I had because, like you said, you had this like exceptional childhood where going into the art, sort of getting pushed towards art, and then see, I like minis. It's like I am doing something with my hands, and I'm very like kinesthetic. Like even when I talk, I'm like kind of always moving, and I don't really formulate ideas without moving. I have to be doing stuff. So it's fascinating. Like I'm not expecting like we figure ourselves out here tonight, but it's just
a good
conversation. Yeah.
And then like the similar thing, my dad actually, a big part of this is he's an engineer, right? So the whole concept of like building things and making things like that, I think that's also a strong resonance and like, for this creative outlet I have, because I actually get to build the models and, then paint them and do all this stuff. So I don't know.
Yeah, right on. So since the Tau was kind of like one of the more recent projects, and you've since stripped the IDK down, and you're going back to ground, but your chaos. What's the like? Where's your head at right now in Age of Sigmar? Like in hobby, and did you get the spark back, or is it like you're still kind of like trying to embrace it or kindle it?
I always have a spark. Like it's always like right there. Like if I could just reach out and grab it, like I'd be good to go. But I get so enamored with different aspects of the hobby or different armies or different themes or whatever, and I don't know how to just like. You know what I mean? When you try a new food, you're supposed to just like, or try wine or beer or whatever, you take a little sip and then you let it percolate and it's got a really rich aroma. No, I'm going to like, down the whole bottle and like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. Right. So and I approach like my hobby like that a lot, so I'll get an idea for, I want to do this army this way, for this reason. And I'll just all in on it. You know what I mean? And, so that's led to me basically, I don't know, like 2+ tough Doug, right? How he's like just this constant like.
He's always flipping armies. Yeah. It's like the meme, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing a lot of times. Every army I've actually had 100% painted has either been because I painted it for somebody else, or I painted it and I've sold it to move on to different things. You know what I mean? And I just do that. I go through these like waves of like, oh man, this is the best thing ever. I'm going to do that right now. And the only factions that have really just held me have been Lizardmen or Seraphon, right? And then Chaos.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I always go back to those two things.
Yeah, they're like your home base, right? Like
And Chaos, I think the best part about it, or it's a little less now, was how like intermixed and all that stuff it is with it. You know what I mean? Like you used to be able to like pull from like slaves, demons, beastmen, various themes, just the god keyword or even Grand Alliance or whatever, and you can have a little bit of just everything. And that's kind of the stuff that really like gets me for the chaos stuff. Is I tried doing Fire Slayers once, right? And I put together a few of them, did all this, and I started painting one of the little naked baby dwarves. And after that, I was like, nope, I can't do this. I can't do this. Nope.
You're free to throw shade at Fire Slayers. All
right.
You're good. But I just want to say to you, chat gang, separately, we stand Fire Slayers around these parts. Like we pray to Lord Bilateralis Symmetricus. No, one of my friends I played 40K with back in college. Blood Angel, Blood Angels player. He was Tyranids player.
So I played Blood Angels too, by the way. So there you go.
Space vampires. It
Back in
makes
the day,
sense. Yeah. He like has been orbiting Age of Sigmar for like the last 6 years, and I couldn't get him in, and I couldn't get him in, and I couldn't get him in. I finally like imagined him like like looking at the pool that is Age of Sigmar. I just walked behind him and I pushed him in the pool and sent
There
him a
you go.
box of start collecting Fire Slayers before the new tome. I'm like, they're gonna be good. It's all right. And I just because he had like he told me he had a paint scheme for him, and the instant he said he had a paint scheme, I'm like, oh, you're a Fire Slayers player now. Because he did that
Yeah.
thing that you always do where you orbit around the game. You're like, well, I don't know what army to play. What play style am I going to like? What, blah, blah, blah. And when it gets right down to it, by the time you, like, kind of commit, by the time you get an army fully painted, you're not even certain that the army that you began with, mechanically speaking, is still going to be...
You.
Is it going to be for you? So try before you buy. Play on TTS or proxies, empty bases, borrow a friend's army, whatever you do, the communal approaches. Find a community. TTS is a good resource. Try before you buy first and foremost, and then from there, like just keep in your mind that by the time you paint this army and get it all together, like if you're honing in on specific things, they may not stay the same. So you got to like the sort of broad strokes of what you like. Like I love death broadly speaking. I don't foresee them getting a way of regenerating undead shit, right? I that's cool. Like I'm always necromancers regenerating undead shit. Necrosis, vampires drinking blood. All that shit's always going to be there, right?
Yeah. So I like you. I'm like always attracted to the evil stuff mainly. Like I don't know. I'm just an evil guy, I guess. But
I think it's the opposite. But go on.
Yeah.
I think weirdos like you and me, our love of the villains comes from a place of like deep empathy, but also having been through darkness ourselves, and so we go through that darkness to kind of appreciate the light, and then we also kind of want to like be the bad guy a little bit to help others find their light. But that's just me though.
Well, I mean, it makes sense, and I'm always like doing the devil's advocate type thing. Anytime there's some sort of like a discussion or whatever, like I will say the complete opposite thing, even if I like totally disagree with it on like a personal bias, right?
Yeah,
I would never do that in a million years, but you know what? You should think about that.
Yeah, we gotta test you, see how like that's you gotta be an '80s cartoon villain, right? Sometimes you gotta lean in. Yeah, sorry, go on.
But yeah, so I don't even know where I was going with that. I was like gone.
Yeah, no, it was the we both play villains, armies and stuff like that, and I mentioned pushing my friend to the pool of AOS and how you got to gravitate around an army and kind of commit to.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm always attracted to the bad guys. At the end of the day, I always go back to them. I always go back to chaos. Chaos is my home, But I'll see either I don't know. Special snowflake syndrome is kind of a thing I suffer from as well.
Mm-hmm.
I want my army to be different, even though like the meta list win. My army may incorporate elements of it, but it can't be that. Like I can never net list, right? I can start there and then just make it my own, but I can't net.
You got to put your spin on it. You got to put your ownership on it. Yeah, no.
I have that special snowflake syndrome every time I go into something. So like I'll see like Stormcast dragons or whatever. I'm like, oh, dragons are badass. I want dragons. I got to do dragons. Okay, but I don't want to be the spammy dragon guy like everybody else is. So I got to come up with my own way to do this. And then in my head, I'll start formulating like different color schemes, and I can totally approach every army like your friend can, right? Like, oh, I got a color scheme for this. I got an idea for this, a theme for this, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, I'm going to roll with it. Cause I get so like hyped and into that moment and that, that idea or whatever you want to call it. And I want to see it through and follow it through. But like, by the time I'm into it and starting it, something else comes out. I'm like, oh man, look at that. That looks really good too. Oh, well, that's something I already have with it. Like, cause right now, like I was big on the IDK for a little while there. But now I'm like, oh, they show all the Slaves of Darkness previews, right, at the Warhammer World stuff. And I was just like, I gotta break out my.
Well, Daddy's got to come home now, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Like it's calling to me. I was like, I have a war mammoth sitting in a box. I that definitely needs to be done, And yeah, I it's so hard for me. But like the thing is though, when it's for somebody else or like someone's paying me to do it, commission type stuff or whatever, I have no problem just A, B, C, D. They told me what they want. I'll make it happen, and I'll paint an entire army of Space Marines for, home whatever guy because that's what he wants. But like when it comes to my own stuff, I just have, I don't know,
You
these
gotta,
expectations and stuff that I just can't
yeah.
ever seem to fulfill.
Yeah, you've got that like that external like validation, the external motivator is like really powerful, but when it's for
Yeah.
you, it's got a it's got a buffer. It's like yeah. No, I get
Yeah.
that. Like I jive with a lot of that. Like I said, I've got like gray plastic upon gray plastic, and I'm still in the
Oh man.
death axiom. My other, so I call it my home. My forever home is anything death. Primarily Ossiarch Bone Reapers and Soulblight Gravelords. But it's GA death, so I count it as one army.
Yeah.
And then my vacation home is Beasts of Chaos, like because they're fucking. Oh, they're just like if Dio album covers came to life,
There
like
you go.
they're so fucking metal. It's impossible not to love them. They're the true children
Yeah.
of chaos. Like they're the Conan the Barbarian scene where he's like, Grom, I never ask you for anything, but if you don't help me now, to hell with you. Like it's just they're like that. They're fucking awesome. So I love
they're primal,
Yeah, and I just so I have like a plan for how I'm gonna get like all this shit painted and so on and so forth. But then I get derailed and I just end up doing something else or like Ossiarch Bone Reapers. I still have a functional army. I can play 2K points of OBR right now. But like it's not an optimal list, and to make it optimal, I have to paint this and this. And one of those barriers is like Catacross. It's like $200. I don't want to fuck up Catacross. It's like the best model they've ever made. Like if I paint it bad, it's just I can't like I almost can't like
Yeah, I still have Archaon sitting in a box on my shelf in the garage. So
Yeah.
I feel your pain.
I keep promising myself a second Nagash because I've got one Nagash who's good, but like it's not like my Nagash with like my full spin and like it looks like I was like getting Nagash painted to be table standard, and so like for a while there I could get stuff to be like tabletop standard, but like that's not good enough anymore. I need to like make it mine. I need to make it like
see,
I need to
same thing. I have to make the army my own, right? And I guess the biggest draw probably for chaos for me is that diversity factor, right? Because I hate like having an army full of the same model over and over and over and over again. I want to see this big demon, these knights, these beastmen, all this stuff, monsters and cav and everything. Yeah. I want that diversity and that interest to keep me there.
Mm-hmm.
And chaos does that better than anybody.
I think so. Yeah. No, that's cool. Well, I've had an excellent conversation. Is there anything you want to add on community? Any point we glossed over? Anything more on hobby? Anything on your maybe you got an army in the works? I am going to airbrush something in the next month. I'm putting it out there. I'm planting my flag. Anything
as
like
much
that?
as I would love to be able to say that, there's no way I can I feel like I'd be able to follow through on something like that. Although I think if I had that, I would actually motivate to do it. But funnily enough, I am trying to finish up my Beast of Chaos right now because they are an army where in my mind, I'm just like, I can spray these guys 2 shades of brown. And now that I know how oil washes work a little bit, do that real quick and then this, and they should be good, right? I don't know if that'll be enough for me because I can never seem to settle at that tabletop standard. I have to, go in and highlight and shade and blah, 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 blah. But there's supposed to be the get a painted quick army tabletop standard thing in the back of my head right now. But yeah.
Can I put you on the spot a little bit?
Maybe.
You can reject this is fine. Texas has I see Texas as like a sort of a mirror of the Midwest. Like the Midwest, we're a little bit of like like the Midwest Fortress, and But like we have like a lot of tournaments within about like an 8-hour drive is like kind of like the top end if you want to like if you're in the central hub, it gets upwards of there where we sort of are inundated by tournaments. We can stay within the Midwest and we really don't have to go to the East or West Coast. Texas is a lot of like really solid tournaments too, the Texas Masters, so on and so forth like that. So I preface it with that to say this: Can I make a chat gang proclamation, a rantcast proclamation that you will have a army in a tournament in the next 6 months?
I'm gonna
I know you've had
yes.
some. I know you had some health issues. I know you've got family and so on and so forth. So this is
the accountability of that. I want to say yes. All right. So
I'm trying to give you some accountability. We will toss you on the most important place on the internet, Twitter. Oh
God. So my goal right now is I want to be in the Texas Masters next year, the next season, right? So in order to do that, a lot of it and the points and everything like that, significantly, GTs count very importantly, and GTs in Texas are almost all paint requirements. Okay, I'm pretty sure nationwide more or less GTs are paint requirements. So I want to be able to compete in the Texas Masters because I'm like extremely competitive. Like I want to approach it my way, but I want to win my way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get you, man. I think we're a little bit of a kindred spirits here. Picking up a lot of what you're laying down. It's funny.
So speaking of the health stuff, I had my last major surgery about a year ago now, and physical therapy is starting to wind down where it's not 3 to 5 times a week anymore. It's once or twice a week, and I'm getting to a point where I can start trying to go out and be there. I got some brace type things that'll actually help me stand and be able to game again in a real way. And my goal with that is to actually have my name show up in the Texas Masters next season.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. So, and that usually starts around August time. So it gives me the summer to try and get something ready.
Okay. All right. What if I do like more of a soft proclamation than like a hard 6 months? See your name show up at a GT in 6 months. I mean, I feel like that's compatible with your Texas Masters thing.
Right.
For a while, pre-COVID, some of my friends were trying to get Midwest Masters going. And we were talking to some of the Sons of Slambo, some of the Ever Chosen podcast. And I'm not. It's been so long. I'm terrible with names as a rule, and I'm like.
Yeah, I feel you.
Jeremy Cooper's the only name that sticks out of my head right now, but he wasn't directly affiliated with. But that's because I played him, so I remember his name better than the other folks I was talking to. He was on Seraphon. So one of the things that was going on up here is we were trying to get a Midwest Masters going, and the idea was that we would get our Midwest Masters going, and then we would like invade Texas, and then we would start like a U.S. Masters, and because we figured like it would start out with like Wisconsin invading Texas, we could get like East Coast, West Coast, and whoever, like really just like again community based, like let the communities decide what their region is, form the little masters, kind of self-govern their their little tournament scene. If they're heavy weighted, soft, whatever, they get whatever is their masters for their region, whatever is our and so on and so forth. And then we come up with like a U.S. Masters where like a council from the Midwest, council from Texas, blah blah, and we all agree upon like standards, expectations for like that regional thing. So like, if you, here's a like it we can go with the 6 months one, or we can go with this one. If you get your name on that that Midwest or on that Texas Masters list, I will invade Texas, a Texas tournament with some homies. It won't be like a full on Midwest Masters thing, but it'll be me, and I will come down there like a Slambo GT next year or something like that.
Yeah, well, you should definitely do that one because that's the best GT in Texas, non-biased,
Yeah. We have no biases here on RantCast whatsoever. There are zero biases, so I believe it.
Yeah.
So if you get onto Texas Masters, I'll come down to Slambo next year. Does that timeline add up, or do I need to do Slambo?
Yeah, so the Slambo GT is actually usually the last GT in Texas Masters.
Okay.
So you're looking at almost a year in total if you want to the Slambo GT, the GT you guys come down for, that you'd be looking at almost a year.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll grab me and so I'll have about a year to get whatever army I'm fucking procrastinating on together. And
yeah, there you go. And then you and I can keep each other accountable a little bit as far as hey, you remember what we agreed to?
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
And you're already committed to airbrushing.
I got airbrush something. Look at that. I see. Now I'm stacking goals. See, the airbrushing leads into the
the 5-year, 10-year plan.
Yeah, right. Yeah. What's a short-term goal? What's a long-term goal?
There you go. Making progress right there.
Yeah, there you go. And I got to get my ass beat by Ulf Pants here in SCA if we raise a bunch of money for mental health in July. So look at me just setting goals.
Yeah, no, I really love what you're doing with mental health. Like you're saying, you've had a lot of epiphanies and realizations occur over the past X amount of time since you've started on your mental health journey.
December 28, 2021. I can't forget that date ever. It's just in my
yeah. So very similar thing. Mine's actually August 4th, 2019. I talked to you briefly about it, but I was in a pretty bad car accident where I almost died, and since that time, it's been just coming to these epiphanies and realizations and things of wow, I didn't even know I was doing that, even though I was doing it, and I thought it was a good thing. Maybe it's not such a good thing, and it's just the things you're doing in that arena, even if taking that first step and putting it yourself out there is just such a massive thing, and it's a very inspirational thing for plenty of people out there that are going through things that they can't even admit. So so kudos to you, my brother.
No, mad love, my friend. I'm glad you came on here. I'm glad we got to have a conversation. We were just jiving in just DMs, and DMs are kind of toneless. And I got to have a conversation with this guy. I got to meet him. Right. We got to have a conversation. Like I said, I sense that kindred vibe. Yeah, I don't know. I think this community is special. I think that there's some, we all have our various baggage and barriers and blind spots and biases. But when you come into Warhammer, there's I hate this word. We need a better word for this. But there's a little bit a safe space, or a sort of place where there's the static breaks up a little bit.
Well, it's easier when you have that commonality of a very niche thing where your thing is their thing, so it's obviously something that you can just
we at least have this
mesh.
In common, and
yeah.
So we can from there we can kind of reach out and look at, and kind of get a better perspective. And that's right. You talked about sort of epiphanies. I don't really I'm always a deeply intellectualize stuff a lot. I think I always take a thing and I try to think about it. Having an epiphany moment come fewer and farther between though, and so
yeah. Well, I can honestly say my quote unquote epiphanies have been, I don't know, since 2019 is the big moment, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a very long time to realize some of the things I was doing and having issues with.
Yeah, this.
You know what I mean? And I say epiphany. It's just kind of you can actually put words to it now, where before
you've got a lexicon now. You suddenly have you're there's this thing that I'm kind of I've been aware of it, but now you're I have a word for it. Now that I've got a word for it, holy shit, and it clicks into place. Same thing with my my hypomania. Lulu, not to get too personal here, Chat Gang, but my partner and I, she's talked about how we'll always have the big fight, and she starts to sense when it's about time for the big fight. And it's just she can practically set her watch to it, and she's yeah, I probably contribute to that because I start to clam up and I start to wonder when's the big fight, and I get a little bit on edge, so I'm probably feeding the beast a little bit. And then she said that after I had a session with my therapist who talked about my hypomania, because I had a textbook hypomania, got into a first fist fight in 16, 15 years, something like that. Laid the dude out. Yep. It wasn't really a fist fight. I at close range I throw elbows. I'm a dirty fighter. I'm Irish, whatever. So just kind of elbowed the dude, took him down after him perpetually line stepping the whole night and kind of pseudo stalking somebody. And
wow.
But I felt invulnerable. It wasn't even that I wanted to fight. I'm there's nothing this guy can throw at me that will hurt me. There's literally and my therapist. I was telling my therapist about it. And she's that's hypomania, Andrew. And I went, oh my god, and like it just like and I just like my brain, it was like that part in the MCU where Doctor Strange gets like hit in the solar plexus and his soul flies out his body.
Right.
And I'm just like looking back on like 10 years of my life and 20 years of my life and all the way back to puberty when I was like the scrappy dude who got into fights, like moved around a bunch, was kind of like you moved around a bunch. I moved around. I wasn't on like the popular Axiom. I was like the cool new kid Axiom. So like like a little bit weird, a little bit on the outskirts, but like always cool, and people like were trying to figure out what clique I fit into. And so I had that grace period of being cool to everybody.
Right.
But I never ever
Yeah,
really...
that's kind of the thing too. Like I never like clicked with one click. I was like,
You mentioned the chameleon
friends with
thing,
all
right?
the cliques,
Yeah.
And
So
like it would trip people out because my you want to talk about like high school type stuff. Like my girlfriend at the time was very alternative goth, whatever. But
I mean, cool.
I would show up and I'd wear like a polo and like khaki shorts, and flops.
What
like,
I would call a preppy. Yeah. Right?
Yeah, and it was just like these like completely.
Yeah, it's pretty fantastic. No, it's fun. It's really cool. Like it's like we different sides of the tracks type thing where like we have similar life story and a little bit different angle of trajectory of approach. Yeah, so like I like cast my mind back through all that, and then I told Molly about that session, and she's like, Andrew, you have that like hypomania phase, like once every blah blah. She's like, because that always happens around the time we have the big fight. And I'm like, huh? And she's like, well, because this, and she like lays it out for me. I'm like, and so like I had that like me centric view of it, where all these this all the way through time, these fights, these jobs. I just like literally do the half baked thing. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you. You're cool. Fuck you. Like, and just how throughout my whole life, I've always had these like moments of like pure recklessness and vulnerability. Nothing can stop me, no matter what. Those hypomania phases. But then also like on a micro scale and an interpersonal scale, they've been happening throughout the whole time, and going like, shit. And that was like this, just like kind of what you said, this epiphany where I've had to like, it's recontextualized decades of my life just with that one thing I had to reassess.
Yeah. So like right now, my absolutely amazing girlfriend right now, she's actually a social worker. And has her master's and is actually going to become a clinician, blah, blah, blah. Wonderful, incredibly intelligent woman. And she's made a point not to diagnose me with anything because like, I like, you know what I mean?
I mean, you kind of can't. That's why, like, I've had friends who work in like healthcare, mental health care, or behavioral health, and stuff like that. I'm like, you can't really diagnose your homies.
Oh yeah.
Like you know them on a level that's like unfair, and
have you played against the Kragnos ogre stuff?
No, I haven't. I actually haven't played a game against Kragnos yet. Like, period.
Okay.
He came out last year. I haven't played like really real games meaning tournament games since. So.
Yeah. I was just curious if you had an opinion since his latest update.
Oh, he's good. Like his latest, like I don't need to fly an airplane to tell you shouldn't crash into a mountain, right? Like, he's his latest update. He's solid. Obviously, he's having some really good run in Gits right now, but that's about to change because I think we pretty much know that the next two battle tomes for destruction are Gits and ogres.
Yeah.
So who knows where the trips fall? Kragnos is kind of the winner of the god models right now. Archeon got, quite frankly, overcorrected, steered against. Nagash has always been in just a weird spot where they just kind of can't figure him out.
I think they're just scared. I don't know, the recursion stuff and all that with the death things. I don't know. They're just scared to be. I don't know. It's just weird, especially when you see what they do with like the elves and all that stuff. It's like I don't know.
Are Lariel's in a cool place? I don't think we've seen the full battle tome yet. If it leaked between like last week when I was kind of paying attention and this week where the last 2 weeks I've been like touch and go with keeping up on stuff. But the last I saw Sylvaneth, we saw Alariel's War Scroll, but we haven't seen the whole book yet. Maybe that's changed. I don't know.
I haven't kept up with the new Sylvaneth stuff.
The leaks.
I try not to get on the leak hype train stuff because there's always like key elements missing. X plus Y equals.
Yeah. No,
Sydney. I'm like, what?
Well, I mean,
So
you're not wrong at all. Like, I mean, these
yeah,
leaks always kind of poison the well. They just there's something always lost in translation. There's always something missing,
yeah.
and people formulate opinions early on. They insulate themselves in those opinions, which is kind of what we were talking about a little bit earlier on.
Oh yeah, yeah. Or
And
they'll
then
take the gospel of whatever guy reads book first, So
whatever their favorite content creator's opinion is
yeah,
becomes their opinion. Like, whatever it is, and then like it becomes this like unassailable fixed point,
yeah,
and they hold that they'll hold that through an entire edition or until
yeah,
the next major shakeup. And it's I I get it, but I try not to fall into the trap myself. Like I actively work against it. Um,
yeah. That's kind of that special snowflake problem I said. I was going at. I can't just do the meta list. I have to tweak it somehow and make it my own.
you always got to find the sauce, right? Like you always got to find that
Yeah,
like thing that nobody's talking about or that's special. I have a similar vibe. It's my like Johnny Johnny Timmy Spike. I've got very much of Johnny brain. I'm always trying to look for like the combo or the thing that people haven't read yet or the war scroll that nobody's like everyone's sleeping on this war scroll. This is the one, right? Like I'm always
yeah.
looking for that next thing. Um, so
Yeah, well, I can actually say one hard. Speaking of the death, Nagash, all that fun stuff. I actually got into Soulblight Gravelords, right? Because I have that weird mentality where I need to have at least one army from every Grand Alliance. But
I
I
wouldn't say
was
that's
like
a
all
weird
about,
mentality, but that's
but,
that is a Warhammer mentality that exists.
yeah,
Like,
I
yeah.
have the typical AOS mentality, and I was totally in on Soulblight, and I had my, I also had Cursed City, so I was like, oh, great, perfect starting point here, we're good to go. But then the Nagash and all Blood Knights list was a thing for a good 6 months or whatever it was, and I was like, okay, this is like the best thing ever. You know what I mean? Like I
Yep,
was like, I want
yep.
to do that. So I did buy a couple more boxes of Blood Knights and get a Nagash, and it lasted all of a couple weeks. So
I respect it regardless. I have
yeah,
20
no,
I have 25 Blood Knights. I want to own 50 for no reason. I
oh
can't field
yeah,
50.
yeah.
Like I
So,
go ahead.
go ahead. My mentality when I go to armies is always cav and monsters, and if you do monsters cav, that's like the best thing ever. So my corn army is like all juggernauts. I have like
So like old school
36
brass
plus.
stampede. Yeah.
Yeah, I have like 36 juggernauts, and I'm like, I can't even put that many on the table in a 2K list, but I have them. I don't know what I'll ever do with them, but I still have them. And that's the type of thing I refuse to get rid of because it has that like that just hits the spot for
Yeah,
me.
the like
It's
the
like
pure like
yeah,
nostalgia.
monsters cav,
Yeah, yeah.
and big monsters. That's again chaos.
Right.
That's where you get all that.
Well, I mean that's part of the thing where like Age of Sigmar when I have criticisms of it, it's like I want the Gonzo game. Like I want it to be the big stompy monsters and sweet over the top cavalry and you know
Yeah,
I play undead so like I respect the horde, don't get me wrong, but like I want like the horde should be the exception. It shouldn't be the like the way the game is played. It should be about the big sweet stuff. I think.
right.
Um
Yeah,
there's always going to be a best one when it comes to sub factions. We need to get over this like stigmatization of like something being good needs to be punished. Like just make everything else good too. It's no crime being good or even great. Just it's a feels bad when your stuff isn't good or great and you see good or great. We shouldn't want to keep lowering standards. We should want to elevate them. I guess that's me being a weird optimist though.
in a perfect world.
Well, I mean that's the thing. You always like lowered expectations good, lowered standards no. It's a
Yeah,
delicate balance, right? Like you want to hold things to a higher level of accountability, standards, and so on and so forth. But you don't want to like expect the world. Then you're just going to set yourself up for disappointment. This is one of those epiphanies.
right.
No, so you're talking about chaos monsters. See, I also I love cavalry too. Whenever I see like a new army, I hope the cavalry thing is good. So Cavalos Death Riders, I'm like, these got to be good. Blood Knights, these better be good. Every
Yeah,
single time. I ran Black Knights pretty famously in Legions of Nagash, like our precursor to Soulblight Gravelords, like quite effectively. And when they kind of sucked with the new book, it hurt. It hurt a little bit because I have so many of them. But Blood Knights are good, so it's all right. That made the medicine go down.
There you go.
So,
right.
yeah. You always want like the good, like it just like I don't know. This game is wide enough. I think there's enough to really entice everybody. So, I'll kind of hand you the my digital soapbox here for a moment. I have been prattling on incessantly. I've really enjoyed getting to know you, talk about some stuff, but like this is your moment to get back at me and rant about whatever it is you decide, Warhammer or otherwise. It is your moment to use my soapbox.
That's a tall order right there. No, I guess the biggest thing like is kind of what we were starting with before is the mental health aspect of everything.
Okay.
I mentioned that I was in a really bad accident about 3 years ago, right? And it was to the point where I was bedridden. You're gonna be lucky to walk again, et cetera, et cetera. And the community and this hobby is really what gave my mind a place to recover in addition to my body, because I don't think without it, I don't know. I couldn't say for sure, but I know definitely a lot of times, this was an escape for me that I really needed and was able to actually afford as a result of everything. So, that's why, your Rantathon for mental health and everything else is just like such a big positive aspect of this community that like I was saying, like Sons of Slambo, right? Best group of guys ever. They've been there for me.
Yeah.
Slambo! I
Yeah.
can blow out whatever mic you want.
No, that wasn't bad.
And to be fair, like that's not me, right? Because you want to talk about the military and all that stuff, like the PTSD stuff, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to be out there shouting, making, you know what I mean? I don't want big groups of people all over me and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like, the more quiet, comparatively speaking, I'm much more quiet than most of the other guys that are part of the group. But they, you know what I mean? They're just there, They knew me so when Sons of Slambo first started, I wasn't like one of the first 5, etc., but I was like the first 10, 15-ish guys when it was all coming together. But then military life sent me to a different state, different part of the country, kind of loosely stayed in touch with everybody. But then as a result of my accident, San Antonio is the home of military medicine, and I got sent here to recover for a lot of things. And it was like I never left, more or less. Yeah, there's a lot more new faces, a lot more different perspectives, et cetera, et cetera. But that foundation was the same quality community that was there to help me in ways that I didn't know I needed. And it's all because of this hobby that made that possible. So it's definitely your mental health is important. You got to take care of yourself and the people that you love it's just how it is.
Yeah, fantastic soapbox moment, my friend. No, I mean that's that community aspect. That's that, and I don't just mean like when it comes to the game and stuff. Like people need positive social, groups. You need
right.
You need folks that got your back. That'll help build you back up. That'll give you something to, at the very least, distract you from getting trapped in your own head sometimes, like it.
Yeah, and that's the key point right there is that I'm going to call it a distraction, but, honestly, Age of Sigmar is practically a way of life, and,
I didn't start a role-playing game podcast. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, she like makes fun of me all the time for my, my little toy soldiers here, but she supports it because she like, she saw firsthand like positive. Some of the low parts versus the positive versus me actually. I was so insular and isolated and down and depressed that I wasn't doing anything, but this got me out of the house a couple of times to actually socially interact. That wasn't, group talking about things I don't want to talk about, physical therapy, et cetera, all this stuff.
Yeah.
It was like a social
stuff,
interaction
right?
I was wanted, looking forward to, et cetera, so it really helped. I don't know. I don't want to say ground me, but it was an anchor point for some pretty bad things over the past few years. So, this hobby is amazing for all the things it does, all the people it brings together, and competitive outlet, math outlet, building outlet. Like there's so many aspects to this thing that attract so many different people for so many different reasons. But somehow, like when we come together and understand that at the end of the day, it's AOS, not not Paint Hammer, not whatever.
Yeah.
Age of painting, age of building, age of
Whatever it
list
is.
building.
Yeah.
So it's a cohesive thing, and that community and foundation there is like really what brings us all together, and it's so important. So.
I think that's part of the why you get some of the visceral reactions you do, because you're going to guard you're going to protect.
Oh yeah.
You're going to protect this thing that means so much to you. It's something you incorporate possibly into your identity. So you get to see some of like the visceral reactions too. But that's where like I think we got to have that community to also back us up, remind us to focus on that common ground, build out from there. Like who out there sees 100% eye to eye with you? You know what? That's fucking boring, right? Like I don't.
Yeah.
If I can't if I don't have an excuse to like share my different opinions from other people, like what am I even doing here? But it's focusing on that common ground to springboard your ideas, challenge each other, aspire to be better around each other because of each other, so on and so forth. That community aspect. So, that's. Like
and you want to foster that, like this whole, I don't know, like you want to talk about all the Twitter drama and the gatekeeping and all that stuff. Like I just, I don't get it. I don't understand it. The more people you have, the more opinions you have,
the more diverse it's going to get. Yeah.
Yeah. That's like what America was founded on. Ideally is.
Yeah. You want to common ground, like common ground, build out from there. And the whole point of like, if I'm going to give you the freedom to play your way, you got to let me have the freedom to play my way, and
right,
so on.
And you need to understand that like your way is not the only way,
right? Yeah. I mean, I just feel like
it's hard. Like I get it, so many biases, so many different people coming for different things. There's gonna be butt heads, but as long at the end of the day, you all
that's fine too.
Understand it's Age of Sigmar. We're all here to have a good time. Have a good time.
Yeah, I like to to tap out from reality sometimes. Like it's just like, okay, I can't anymore. Like this is where I come, and my opinions are articulated well. I don't come to them lightly, and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it's this game. I'm not worrying about like my whatever might be plaguing me outside the game. Yeah, like it affects because everything's interconnected. But like you get that like moment, that respite. That. Respite. That's the better word than safe space. I hate safe space.
There you go.
It's just a respite. It's a pit stop. It's a waypoint. It's a way station or an oasis. Like it's this oasis.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
It took me 3 hours to find that word.
There you go. Well, we all get there. It's a journey for everybody.
That's right. That's right, my friend. That's right.
It doesn't matter that when you get there, it's just the journey.
All right. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Anything you want to shout out real quick?
Man.
Yeah, right.
To all the Slam Bros and guys and girls and wonderful human beings that are out there. I love you guys. You've been amazing, and thank you. And to the AOS community at whole, you have no idea how much all of you have done for me. You may not know it, but I'm thankful and grateful to be a part of this.
Amazing. And if anyone wants to like get at you on Twitter, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm just kind of starting off in this whole like trying to be more social media happy. But at Twitter, here, let me double check before I give you all some bad info here.
I'll fix it in post.
Yeah, there you go. I was like, say, it's at slave 2, the number 2, Chaos Nick, and you can reach out to me on Twitter, and that's probably the best way to get a hold of me. I'm usually doing the same. Drama drip feed that you are.
Trying to like, and I remember you like interjected on some stuff. Like, quite frankly, the Adepticon thing was like kind of the worst I've seen Twitter drama get for the Adepticon or for the AOS community. We've had we have had, I think, worse occurrences. Like podium swaps have happened before. Like, cash money prize pools have, there have been some like ethics questions with like others. And I don't want to minimize what happened whatsoever. It was like it was where it escalated to was like I had never been ashamed of the AOS community personally until that moment.
I think a big part of it too is the timing of all of it as well. Like I said, we were just coming out of a pandemic. This was the first real like this was like
The
you know, you wanna talk about
all
holy
eyes were on
Mecca,
that
right?
too, right? Yeah, like the
Yeah,
Mecca,
it blew up
the Mecca,
so quick.
yeah.
So
It blew up
quick.
so quick. You know, like mismanaged decisions, like here and there. The amplifier on every little mistake. You know, it just. You know, we had a tournament a while ago where people were allowed to go against like what was said in the pack. You know, I think there's a GT. Was it the Austin GT? Someone won a tiebreaker, having faced um, the ringer in like the third round or something like that for their 5-0 versus another person's 5-0.
Yeah.
And
So
you know, like this shit happens. You know, like
yeah, and
I understand the stakes are different at a tournament. I'm not trying to minimize it, but like you said, like it's just like if you know, like if it was Bobo, if it was any one of these like big, huge tournaments was like had to be the first one coming out, you know, of like the big
it was under a
lockdown,
magnifying glass for
whatever
whichever
it
one.
was, right? You know, whatever. You know, I don't think
I
it
think
hit.
someone's crying. I might have to call it.
No,
Sorry.
we're good, man. We're good. We got the thing in there.
Yeah,
And,
sorry about that, but anytime, dude, anytime.
peace. Take it easy. Chat gang, you're the show within the show. The reason we do this thing. I'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Don't call to come back. I've been here for years, but it was a nice reset. Nice. I had to take a small hiatus there, so I apologize for that. But I'm back. Let's fucking crush Rantathon this year, huh? So take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. Remember to drink your milk, pay your taxes, and we'll catch you next time. Good night, everybody.